All right, folks, we're going to go ahead and get started. For those who are in the room, make sure you mute yourselves if you're joined on the Zoom. Let's see here. Good morning. Good morning. Is everybody muted? Because I'm hearing an echo. Hang on. There we go. I got it. For those who are in the room, please feel free to get up, go grab food. It's a very flexible, open room, so even if somebody's speaking, you can get up, move around, all that fun stuff. But welcome, everybody. Thanks for being with us. This is the March, hard to believe it's March already, is employee forum meeting. So we have a pretty full agenda today, so we're going to go ahead and kick things off. So we have Chief of Staff Christi is here with us today in place of Chancellor Lee Roberts, who's traveling right now. So we're glad to have Christi come up and give our roundtable. So come on forward.
You knew what a girl needed today. Always. Exactly. Thank you all for having me here today. As I was getting my coffee and talking to a few of you all, it was unanimous when we asked how everybody was doing. To a person, you all said, well, it's Friday. So we're all really excited that it's Friday. I'm also really excited that it's the Friday before spring break, which is extra special. Even if you're not doing work directly with students, I always find that the pace of the university calms down just a little tiny bit with that population of our environment, of course, off to the beaches and doing their things. So may you all enjoy a quiet spring break week. I'm also excited that the red buds are starting to bloom and I have daffodils in my yard. So there are some good things that are really happening out there, and spring is always a really lovely time at Carolina. So I just want to invoke that as we talk about some of the other things that are going on, because it's a challenging time. And so I just want to start by recognizing that we're all going through a period of uncertainty. The words that we keep hearing in South Building are uncertainty, fluid, and challenging. So it's really hard to find another word to use, so I'll just borrow all of those. With the changes in the federal environment, with the different executive orders and a Dear Colleague letter that have come down, we are really just working through with our Office of the Vice Chancellor for Research, giving some guidance on next steps. And so what I want to assure you is that with all of these different pieces that are coming down, we are working tirelessly to sort out what this means for the university so that we're prepared to provide guidance and next steps when we have them. We're not there yet. But for those of you who are watching the OVCR, OVCR's emails, I just want to really point you to how wonderful that division has been, and Penny Gordon-Larson's been amazing, Andy Johns, her team, in providing consistent updates about what we know and what we don't know. So if you haven't seen those, please go to their website and take a look. They've also been holding office hours weekly, I believe, and the tally of folks who've been attending those office hours is tremendous, and so I'm really grateful that people are participating. I think we've had 4,000 people participate in some of those calls. So if you are in a department or a division that needs that kind of feedback, please seek it there. But they've been wonderful to work with, as has Kelly Dockham and our federal affairs team. They've been in DC consistently over the past few weeks talking with our delegation. And to a person, our delegation has been supportive of the institution, specifically in regards to the NIH cap of indirect costs, really trying to make sure that the university has what it needs to thrive. We are all united in that regard, so we have a lot of support for the institution. We've also been working closely with our peer institutions. We're working with our associations like the AAU and the APLU to chart a path forward. So I just want to assure you that while we still don't know a lot is enjoined in the courts. We're still seeking additional guidance on any number of these things, and I think the last time I was briefed, we have 13 different executive orders or letters to examine. These are things that we're on top of. I'm happy to answer questions about that, but largely this is a time of communicating more, not less, and making sure you all know what we know. But still, there's a lot up in the air. See previous vocabulary terms: uncertainty, fluid, and challenging. But we do have some good news. And so the good news is, of course, for another year, our applications are up, right? So the university continues to really thrive. We had 78,000 applications for undergraduate spots. That is another 15% increase over the previous year, which I think is a 32% increase over the past 2 years. So Carolina continues to be a place that people want to be, and that's something that we can all really be proud of. I know all of you have a lot to do with making this a great place, and I'm really pleased that that's where we are. We also are the #1 public university for Fulbright scholars. which is no small feat. So again, thank you all for your part in making sure that our students have what they need to thrive and be great candidates for those sorts of opportunities. And there was another one that I wanted to mention, and I'll call it a couple others. Oh, Princeton Review noted that we were an honor roll campus in terms of our mental health efforts for students. I know this group has asked me about our mental health efforts before, so I wanted you to know that our work over the past 5 years, specifically under the leadership of Amy Johnson, who's just been fantastic, has really increased what we make available for our community. And that's just really obviously been a tremendous resource for our student body, so that's great. A couple other things that I know Dr. Menghini will cite a little bit later. We're going to hold our 2025 Total Wellbeing Expo on March 12th. You'll hear more about that. On March 30th, the Carolina Financial Wellbeing Center will hold the second annual Financial Literacy Summit in collaboration with UNC Global, UNC Graduate and Professional Student Government, and Student Life and Leadership. We recently, you might see this one, see our new marketing effort called Excellence Within Reach. It's a new campaign that highlights our affordability, value, and accessibility. It's currently highlighted on the website's homepage. This is really interesting because what we heard through some AAU data was that if you ask people across the state of North Carolina, there were still people who thought that we might be a private institution and certainly that we were too expensive to actually enroll in. And so we really wanted to target, even though our applications are through the roof, making sure that all North Carolinians know that this is a place that they can access and that this is for them and for students in their communities. And so we're specifically targeting that effort in this marketing campaign. The Moorhead Planetarium will host the UNC Science Expo on April 5th as a part of the North Carolina Science Festival. And I think that we have some basketball that we're playing. And so congrats. I know Keith is listening. So Keith, go Heels. And the UNC women's basketball team, I think, plays again today. The men's has some kind of game tomorrow against a neighboring school that I think that we have a great chance in. And I'm optimistic there. So go Heels, beat Duke. And I am happy to take any questions, but those are my remarks for the morning. Yeah.
I was on that call yesterday with OVCR with their office.
Make sure you guys are using your microphones. There's
Oh, you have to tap.
button on the table. Yeah,
Sorry, Arlene.
you can just hold it down.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was on that call, and some questions came up that seemed really appropriate for this forum as well as scenic. But I wonder if there's a way to make sure that those questions, when they come from staff, get
Absolutely.
directed to us and to scenic, because it's, I guess, a little bit outside of the capacity of what that hour was for.
Yes.
But still, it'd be great to connect the dots.
That's weird.
Hey, David, can you mute yourself? No,
No,
not you.
online.
Hang on.
I wonder if it's somebody spoofing the number, like,
There we go.
Technical difficulties.
Oh, no.
Yes, we will connect the dots. And so I'll get the notes from that meeting.
Because it's great that it wasn't part of what the focus was, but those people should know that we are a resource.
Absolutely.
And we're their delegates.
Absolutely. And so I'll talk to Andy Johns about that.
And I told him to look up the news this morning about Bitcoin investment, but anyway.
Will do. Don't ask me any questions about Bitcoin, but yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Yes.
I will go ahead and ask you if Chancellor Roberts is going to be making it to the meeting? No.
No. He's traveling. He's doing
Okay.
development travel this
So
morning.
I'll direct the questions to you. The same questions I bring up every
Yeah.
time, and I know that HR and Wendy have been working to make sure that people that fall outside of a certain pay range within facilities, grounds, housekeeping are moved up to that pay range. But the people that were in the pay range that made their way up through time or getting great evals and stuff like that and barely made it above that pay range are still not seeing any increase in pay. So that's my main issue, is that.
Thank you.
And then also, I'm not sure exactly how this works, and it's never made sense to me, but, and I assume it's for all state employees, but if you're hired in at a certain contribution level, say you're hired in at contributing, you've been on the job for 7 years, gotten outstanding evals, you are not able to move up to the next contributing level unless you apply for a different job, which, if your goal is retention, makes absolutely no sense because there's no movement for
Path.
employees, really, especially since there's no jobs to apply to.
Right. No.
So that are comparable or making more. So possible solution from boots on the ground perspective. If someone's been here for 5 years, they have outstanding evals, their supervisor sings their praises, why then can we not evaluate that person in their respective position and not make them apply to a different position, but move them up to the next contribution level? Mm-hmm. They have on-the-job training,
Right.
they have great evals, they have all the experience, so we shouldn't have to shuffle around and do a bunch of paperwork and move their job position to get them to the next contribution level. So that would provide incentive for a lot of employees to get good evaluations, which we don't have right now. There's no incentive for good evaluations because they don't really change anything.
I appreciate that. And we
So-
always want to make sure that we're keeping our workforce and helping them grow. But I'm going to defer those questions to Dr. Menghini, who is fortunately in the back of the room. Do you want to take those during your remarks, or do you want to answer them now?
The latter one is an easier one to note, and I understand.
Micro. Yeah.
Sorry, I understand that the system as it's written is confusing, and you'd think, okay, I have good evaluations, I should be able to move up. The contributing journey, that whole mechanism is determined based on the duties required of the job. So if the duties fall into a certain category, that situates you at journey, contributing, whatever it may be. It is not based on your performance in the job. So I totally understand what you want, and I recognize it entirely, but the structure is based on skills and knowledge and skills, and it's set up with the idea that if I am the employer, I need somebody to do this work. It is not set up with, if I am the employer, I need somebody to do this work, and I'm building a progression within that work for the same person to grow. That is intended, or it is intended that if the duties change, it could change. But unless the duties change, you would, unfortunately, have to look for another job at the next competency level. I recognize that's not the way everybody likes to hear it. The system has adopted a competency-based personnel, or the state has adopted a competency-based personnel system, and that is not something we have local authority to change. We have worked as a campus to provide as much in the way of pathway as we can, but we can't, given the oversight we have, just move people into bigger positions without a justification for why the duties are different than they were when we hired you into a journey or a contributing role. We can't just do that because we think you're a great employee.
I do understand that, and that in some way makes sense, but also it doesn't, because why would we not try to advance people within their rate, within their job? Why would we want to stay at a contributing level when we can move up to advance? And that's the reason I'm directing these questions to you and Chancellor Roberts versus HR, because I know they're limited in their capacity to create change at a local level when this affects all state employees. I need you, Chancellor Roberts, to fight for us at a state level and make these changes happen.
Thank you.
That's why I'm not directing them to HR anymore.
Okay, thank you. I'll take that back. I appreciate it. Are there other questions? Yes. Hello.
Good morning. Thank you for the update.
Sure.
I have two questions related to the applications for admission.
Yeah.
That's a huge number, very impressive. Is that inclusive of undergraduate and graduate programs and transfer?
It's just undergraduate. Let me make sure I get it right, because I did have notes on that, but I think it's just,
Hey, Christi, 1 second. Keith, hey, from Zoom.
Hi,
Can people remember to use their microphone, because we did not hear what was just asked?
I think she did use it, but it just wasn't working, so repeat your question.
Good morning. I'll start again. Thank you for the updates. 2 questions related to the admissions or the applications for admission. was that number reflective of both undergraduate and graduate applicants as well as transfers?
It's just first-year students.
Okay, thank you. Second question is related to the executive orders related to research funding. Have you all seen a decline or some impact of potential professors applying who anticipated bringing research dollars to the university?
Not yet that I know of, but I know that this is a department by department sort of issue, so I don't know that we have total numbers of that, but I think that this is also such a global issue in a lot of ways that it will affect faculty in all R1 institutions. So I'm not sure what we're seeing in the market yet in terms of faculty, their research, and what they're concerned about and how that affects where they go with their dollars. Because I imagine wherever they would go, it would be the same impact, of course.
Okay, follow-up question. What type of support are you giving to those units on campus who might be starting to feel that anxiety from prospective applicants for faculty positions?
Yep.
I work at the dental school,
Yeah.
and we have a huge research arm as part of our mission, but there is concern that we're not getting the best candidates because there is anxiety around, will I receive the funding, or what happens, if it's reduced somehow, can we actually make the impact to practical
Right.
dentistry? So.
It's a great question, and we're providing a lot of support in the form of communication and dialogue right now because we're still waiting to see what the impacts are. The court enjoined the NIH cap yesterday, so we haven't actually seen the reduction. We just have the anticipation of reduction. And so we haven't actually done anything concrete to make sure that people have backfilled dollars or any of that because we haven't seen the cut. But it's communication, it's support, it's dialogue, it's trying to assess where we are and then make a plan for moving forward. So I suspect at the next meeting, we'll have more information about exactly what that support will look like because we'll have a little more information. Thanks. Yeah.
I'm curious to know, since we have these concerns over research funding, what would you say to people currently relying on it to allay their concerns over job security? What do you say to someone who is worried about the future while they're continuing to work here?
And that's the problem with uncertainty. It's really hard to allay concern. What we can say is that we are working on it. We are a strong institution with great support, both in DC and in North Carolina across the board. And we really want to keep our research enterprise strong. So you're in a good place. That's what I would say to anybody asking. You're in a good place to try to sort out what the next steps are. And when there are impacts, you'll know them, and we will do our best to support you in trying to figure out how to make sure that the research continues as best as it can. And we're a very sturdy enterprise that will find a path forward.
I'm sorry.
Go for it.
I'm talking.
You're fine. It's not really research
I
funding,
apologize.
so you're good.
I think I just want to make it public that, voting matters and who you vote for matters because, I appreciate you mentioning that we're #1 in Fulbright, and coming from the international and study abroad world, right now Fulbright is paused. The funding for Fulbright is paused. That's really scary. And so is the Gilman Scholarship for Study Abroad. So I don't know 100% the political persuasions of people in administration and of the UNC administration and the state as a whole, but we're seeing a lot of this junk because of who is in office right now. I think we just need to make that perfectly clear. And it's awful. And it's awful for higher ed, and it's awful for all of us. And I just want to put that out into the world. That's it.
Appreciate it. There was one behind you, Elizabeth, and then I'll come back up.
Oh, is your question related? No, I'm chiming in on what he said very succinctly.
We have been talking a little bit over our coffee about the fine line between our professional hats being on and off. At the OVCR's office meeting, they absolutely said act as a private citizen. Say everything you can, not just be careful, but go please and advocate as an individual. That being said, this fine line is very weird to walk on. We're an education giant. We are the first public university in the United States. And it's not that the personal is political and vice versa. It's that these are our jobs. This is our livelihood. This is where we work. And the political climate is very anti-education. So I appreciate the fine line that you and the Chancellor must walk, but in venues like this, we sometimes go a bit beyond the immediate language. We can't help it. That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, it's fine. Absolutely. And you are absolutely encouraged to speak as a private citizen, right? And so the line is delicate and careful. We have to be careful about it. But it's the things like using work time, using letterhead. You're not speaking as a UNC employee. But it is a balance, and we encourage everybody to use their voice and to use their vote for what they want to see in North Carolina and across the country. That's absolutely your right and your privilege as a citizen. Yes.
Hi, good morning. My name is Natasha Young. I work in student life and leadership.
Great.
My question is very different, so taking a very different route. So recently the DTH articles and UNC system guidance around updated policies and procedures for campus protests has kind of been talked about. So I wanted to know if there's any Chapel Hill, it seemed like there was a lot of like campus specific things that might be changing, updating. So I wanted to know if any of those policies, procedures have been updated, and if not, if so, when we could expect that to happen. Mainly just asking because a lot of times students come to our office and ask questions about how to organize effectively in compliance and so on and so forth with the university.
My understanding so far of that policy is that a lot of what we did last summer just to clarify our policy is consistent with what the system office put out. We're reviewing it. But my understanding so far is that there's not much we need to change because, quite frankly, I think they based a lot of what they put in that policy on things that we had led with. So we will have any changes to policy if we even do over the summer. Most likely, there's nothing dramatic in there that you'll see as a big shift. And just for kicks, we have a great website about how to reserve space, how to exercise free speech rights, what the policies are. And we've made that really, really clear in layperson's terms as opposed to having to dig through policy language. And so I encourage you all to look at that. If you Google, I think it's probably the website Free Speech at UNC. You'll see all of that there. So I would steer students there.
Heard. Thank you.
Absolutely.
So I have a question from somebody who couldn't be here.
Yep.
So I'll just read that out. Given the high tensions across campus about general safety and specifically about the threat of immigration/deportation actions, and acknowledging that UNC is a public university and therefore most on-campus spaces like lawns, sidewalks, indoor hallways, many classrooms, and restrooms are all public, can University Council or the administration let us know what faculty offices and staff offices that have doors and locks are considered, public or private? This designation would go a long way to easing the uncertainty of our international scholars of all levels, faculty, students, and staff.
That's a great question. I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head. I know residence halls, of course, are private. That's the thing I've always been brought back to. We have a web resource that might begin to get at this. And again, I think it's on the ISSS website about handling immigration officials when they come to campus and what faculty and staff and students need to know. That may have a little bit of it, but I will ask the follow-up question and see if we can amend. Sure. Yep. Okay, I'll go over here and then I'm probably about ready to cede.
My name's David Brannigan. I'm
Yes.
a 20-year plus employee and former vice chair of the employee forum. And two sort of issues. One's more parochial, but the other one's more general pertaining to this body. The first one is we have Wendy Halsey, the Associate Vice Chancellor for Facility Services. About this time last year, we spoke to her and asked the question, I'm a grounds employee, and we asked the question, why does housekeeping, I see a couple of guys over there, housekeeping have better outdoor clothing than the grounds workers, right? That jacket he's wearing, I'm not actually wearing, I've actually purchased my own because the stuff we get in uniforms is inadequate. And then we saw housekeeping get issued with these lovely warm jackets. And so we asked Wendy why that was. And this is a meeting she had at Cheek Clark building with us, with the grounds department. And it was about this time last year. And we talked to her about the fact that we work out in extremes of weather in summer.
Yeah.
And we talked about needing wicking shirts that wick body heat and sweat away from you.
Absolutely.
And she said, and I quote, well, we can do that. We can get you those shirts. That's a, quote, no-brainer. That's an absolute no-brainer. And she turned to the grounds director, and Darius was there at the time.
Yeah.
And repeatedly said, oh, that's a no-brainer. We can, yeah, you need wicking shirts for the summer. Yeah, we can do that. No-brainer. We'll sort that out. We got those shirts at the end of October, this October. And then in a meeting this week, they gave us another pizza lunch to thank us for our efforts in the snow, in our inadequate winter clothing. And so I brought it up to ask her a question in this manner, saying, are you aware the thing that you called nearly a year ago as a no-brainer, I want my employees to be comfortable, I'm paraphrasing now, but she's saying her argument was, I want my employees to be comfortable with it, whatever weather they have to work in, that's a no-brainer. And I was asking her, are you aware that we got those shirts in October, at the end of October? And she said, oh, I didn't know that. And then I was somewhat offended by her flippant response, which was, well, you've got them now.
Yeah.
We're still waiting, and now we're hopefully coming to the end of winter and coming into an early Carolina spring, hopefully, and we still don't have adequate winter clothing. And so I just would ask you to maybe make the Chancellor aware of that the communication, she told Grounds to form an employee liaison committee or something, I can't remember what it's called. And so there was 5 or 6 employees on that and 2 supervisors. And what we found was, and it was no fault of the supervisors, they could not get any information. We got no information about the uniform purchasing, and I asked, well, for us to make decisions about, getting the correct outdoor clothing, we need to know the purchasing agreements and what have you, the contracts, etc., etc. But the 2 supervisors could not get any information. There is stovepiping of information that doesn't get up. Mm-hmm. And that brings me to the second point. Hopefully you'll bring that up with the Chancellor and it'll trickle back down. Because the only way anything gets done, it seems, is when information bypasses around to the top and then comes down. Mm-hmm. And what we're finding over the last decade at least is that information goes up to a certain level and it stops, where managers are basically CYA. That's all they do. And if it's something that's going to make them look bad, it's not going to go up any further. And so that's why we had great hope that the new incoming person, Wendy, would see that and be told directly, we need adequate, proper, modern clothing for outdoors. And it didn't happen. And that brings me to the second part of my complaint, is that the forum, I was in Cheek Clark this morning checking in and seeing all the nice graphics about facility services. There are over 1,000 facility services employees. There is virtually no connection between this forum and those facilities employees. There used to be, because I served on the forum for nigh on 10 years, and as I say, I was the vice chair of that forum. And even when I was on the forum, we still got accused of, well, not accused, people always said, what do you lot do? What's a forum? I've never heard of them. And that's when we were much more visible and much more connected. We had in-person meetings and everything. That's gone. It was difficult, as I say, when I was on the forum then. Now, it seems to me it's impossible. I've talked to a lot of employees. I work on historic campus. I'm involved in various aspects of my employment, just beyond my grounds work. Nobody, hardly, in facility services knows anything about what you people do. And when I say you people, I include me, because although I'm not serving on the forum anymore, I still regard myself as a forum member. And the forum needs to understand that having Zoom meetings and things like that has destroyed any connection you have with the vast majority of facility, blue-collar, working-class people. And that needs to be addressed, because it manifests in things like not having adequate uniforms, and then a flippant response from Wendy saying, well, you've got them now. And that needs to be addressed.
Thank you. I'll take the uniforms piece back. I don't know if you want to speak to the forum piece.
So we always try and do a good job of representing our various constituencies. And I know we have various representation from different aspects of facilities. And the hope is that our delegates are going back to their constituencies and working with them and liaising with them. However, we do recognize it's been an issue since COVID and since our transition to kind of Zoom hybrid kind of infrastructure. The connection with our constituencies has been an issue. So I know Megan has been a part of some conversations around developing some community conversations where we're going out to departments and speaking with different constituencies and meeting folks where they are to try and better connect with the delegates and their constituencies. So we are trying to implement that in the coming year of having those kind of meet and greet sessions where we go out and meet with the different aspects of our community and let them interact with us, speak with us, kind of share their grievances in a place that works for them, because we try and make our meetings as accessible as possible, but it doesn't work for everyone. So we are going to make that effort, and Megan has been really helpful in kind of having that conversation and getting those things started. So I appreciate the feedback, and we're doing our best to make sure that we are representing all of the different, because there's 10,000 employees on this campus, and representing them is a really difficult work, but we want to make sure we're representing all different staff across campus and all 10,000 of those employees. So anything we can do to make that better, we're trying.
I want to follow up on that and say that I did bring up the issue with communication and the way it trickles or does not trickle down. It's stagnant at certain points throughout the institution, and especially in facilities. And I will reiterate what David said, that we had great hope after Darius left that that would change, and it still hasn't. And I brought this up when I first became, or when I first got on the forum, and nothing has changed. So,
Thank you. I'll take that back too.
A further point, because a thing that I've noticed over the years, and I brought it up when Wendy was actually interviewing for her position, I talked to her about institutional memory. And institutional memory here is missing. I was on the forum when Chancellor Misa was the Chancellor, and we had the same problem with lack of representation, nobody knowing what the forum did, and people saying, "Oh, well, I can't attend, I can't go to meetings." And he said very strongly, and actually sent out a message saying that, because remember, we were formed by the Chancellor's office that formed the employee forum. And he said, "I want everybody to understand that your work on the forum is just as important as the job you do every day in your office. And I expect you to attend meetings and your supervisors and managers to allow you. And you need to be assisted in that, because people always complained that they couldn't park on campus, which admittedly is extremely difficult. But we've got a big parking deck there by the Stone Centre, etc." And he made that point, it wasn't there then, but he made that point that he regarded the work of the forum is as important as all our other jobs, and that you need to fulfil that by having in-person meetings. And that institutional memory of that, as far as I look around, there may be one or two people that remember that, but that institutional memory is no longer there, and that reversion to Zoom meetings after COVID, and COVID, obviously, that was perfectly pragmatic thing to do, but no longer. If you're going to have an employee forum, you need to have an employee forum that meets in person and has people that have concerns that can come to the meeting and can address the delegates directly. That does not happen anymore, and that's partly because of the lack of institutional memory within the forum and within other aspects of the university. So we need to remember what Chancellor Misa said about the role of the forum. It is just as important. And so saying, "No, I'll just do Zoom because I can't get there, my manager's not happy about it." That didn't fly with the Chancellor Misa and all the other chancellors, but now that seems to have just withered away.
So I appreciate that feedback, and we're trying to implement more and more of these hybrid meetings so that we can connect with both in-person, folks that prefer in-person, and folks that prefer remote. We have employees that do work entirely remotely, so capturing their ability to participate is equally as important as capturing the folks that prefer to attend in person. So this meeting here is evidence of the fact that we're trying to implement more of these hybrid meetings to capture the voice of folks who prefer to come in person. So we're trying that. I also will say the Chancellor, over the past several years, we've implemented that step during our elections, where the Chancellor sends a letter to every person supervisor that is running to serve on the employee forum, sharing how important it is for the employees to serve and how much the Chancellor's office values the employee forum service to the university. So the Chancellor's office is still very supportive of that mission and making sure that supervisors support their employees' service on the employee forum. So
That's right. We specifically asked for that.
yeah. Tyrone, you had a question? That's the last one before we move on.
I was going to say that, meeting in person may not be conducive for everybody. Most of the people in here work first shift. I'm a third shift supervisor. Some of the employees have to drive an hour home. So coming back to be on campus may not be the thing, but it doesn't mean that we're not committed to being a delegate for the forum. So we have to look at that instead of just saying, hey, everybody should come on campus. Because when you look at parking, our parking is only for night shift. Anytime after 7:30, I had a meeting with one of my building contacts. My truck was parked in the same spot it was parked in at night. When I come out of my meeting at 9:30, I have a $30 ticket on my vehicle telling me that I'm parked illegally in the wrong spot. So, we have to take that into consideration because it doesn't work for everybody.
Yeah. I think we're being as responsible as we can by trying to include all voices, and that hybrid capability, I think, was an advent for the better. I think it allowed more folks to be able to better engage with and interact with the forum, and I think that's only a good thing. I do understand that some folks will prefer in person, so trying to have at least 4 meetings a year is what we went with this year. But every year during the summer, we have a conversation with our delegation and figure out what meeting structure is going to be for the coming year. Keith had something then you, and then I think that we have to wrap up this portion. So, Keith?
No, because you actually covered it. I raised my hand to talk about the letter from the that we sent from the Chancellor. And also would just like to point out that I live in Rutherfordton, North Carolina, which is a 3-hour and 15-minute drive. So Zoom works for me.
Yeah. Tim?
I just wanted to say, I get your concern. I've been on the forum for several years, on and off. And even when we were strictly in person, we had less turnout than we do with these hybrid meetings and with Zoom meetings. 1. 2, as Katie has said, I'm not going to repeat a whole lot of that. We do everything that we can to make folks aware of who we are and what we do, but some of that responsibility has to be owned also by supervisors and other folks within your departments to say that it's okay for folks who are not delegates, right? So we have a letter that comes from the Chancellor to supervisors of delegates, but not to people who just want to come to a forum meeting, an open meeting, because all our meetings are open. So I don't know that there's a whole lot that we can do as the forum to make sure that supervisors allow folks who are not delegates also be allowed to come and attend those meetings. So whatever we can do to help, I'm sure, we will do to help, but part of that needs to be taken up with supervision within departments to let them know that, hey, I'm not a delegate. However, I do want to go to this forum meeting to be able to voice my concerns, to know what's going on, that kind of thing. So not saying we have no part in that. However, we can't do it all as the forum. We have to do what we can and get other folks to help us out with that internally.
Including parking passes for those that want to attend, so they don't get $30 tickets.
Very, very quickly, Shayna, and then Megan.
I thought I'd offer a solution. I'm participating in a panel at UNC Pembroke on shared governance. I would love to see a workshop or a presentation by administration on the importance of shared governance at UNC. Just a suggestion.
Great, thank you.
You do not have to stay for this. I'm just following up on that. I just wanted to let David know, which is my bad. I haven't communicated this with everybody because it's a brand new program. But we are, like you said, working on getting our delegates in touch with constituents by setting up personal meetings twice a month for 1 hour that they would sign up for, and we would limit the capacity, and we would limit how, if management was there or whatever made the people feel comfortable enough to come forward and talk. So that's how we're trying to bridge that gap. We haven't figured out how to do anything for third shift yet, because honestly, we're all gone by the time you guys get here, and we're not here by the time you come in. So, but
All right, folks. Well, we have to move on to the next section of the agenda, and I'm really excited about this next section. So we have our incoming student body president, Adolfo Alvarez, here with us. So I'm going to bring him forward. Please, Adolfo. So the employee forum, like all of the staff here, are in support of students. This is really why we're doing the jobs that we're doing here. So I'm excited to hear from you and what your team is looking forward to doing in the coming year.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Hello, everyone. How are you?
Can I interrupt?
Yeah, sorry.
Just a minute. The camera
Oh.
on Zoom seems to be stuck on
I got you.
dear sweet precious Becky Menghini. I would also like to see our presenter. Is there a way to fix that?
I'm trying. Thank you. There we go.
There you go.
There we go. Perfect.
Hello, everyone. My name is Adolfo, and as I was introduced, thank you so much for the introduction. I'm going to be the student body president for the 2025-2026 academic year. I'm really excited. I think it's very difficult times for everyone, and I want to start by acknowledging that because it's a big part of why I run in November. You know, when things started to feel like they were going to change, and the change is coming around. So I am UNC's first Latino student body president, which I think is really important in these times. You know, so yeah, thank you. I think in times like this, it means a lot. You know, it means a lot. It shows what can happen when people come together. You know, when people try to tear communities apart, people will always come together and fight against the system. So the idea is that if the system doesn't work for us and we can't create change in those systems, how can we create change from within? You know, how can we accept the truth and sometimes sadly have to move on from that and create change from within? That's what inspired my candidacy. And yeah, I think this Christi did a great presentation, and I think there's a lot of uncertainty moving up all the way up to the Chancellor down. You know, I had a meeting with him and we talked about that. You know, I think there's a lot of uncertainty over a lot of things, and the White House definitely says higher education is an enemy, which is really unfortunate. It's a really unfortunate thing to see because it's going to affect the quality of the education of a lot of students. So I'm really excited for this role, but I think, you know, the Department of Education potentially being dismantled, as the news have said, you know, at any time, an executive order will come that will eventually dismantle the department, and we don't know what that's going to look like. You know, people ask me, oh, what is that going to look like for FAFSA? I don't know. You know, like nobody knows what's going to happen to student loans. Some people say it's going to go back to the Department of Treasury. Some people don't know how it's going to be managed. So, like they said, for example, Fulbright being frozen. You know, there's people who are applying for Fulbright right now, and they're waiting to hear back from decisions. They don't know what that's going to look like when times comes around to figuring out what their program participation will happen or not. So yeah, I mean, immigration policies are also really tough. You know, they affect my community really closely. I grew up in Mexico, so I emancipated and moved to the U.S. when I was 16 years old. So I'm alone in the United States. I'm actually going back to Mexico to see my mom today. So after this, I'm gonna go back and just see. I'm really excited. But I think that especially right now, it's really important to ask the university for resources and support. You know, I think that if the administration is pro-immigration, it's going to protect students, I think it's really important to have that transparency and that people know that support is there. You know, that I think that sometimes it can be, with everything that's going on legally and what the university can actually say or cannot say, we know that that's a really hard line. I think a lot of students don't see that being there. You know, universities are really restricted in what they can publicly say, what they can release or not. I think that it's really important to encourage the university to do as much as they can do, like the most possible, to actually communicate with students. That's what I want to do. You know, when we are talking about free speech, when we're talking immigration, sometimes we cannot sway policies, but we can ask for clarity. We can ask to know as much as we can possibly know. You know, a lot of students have a lot of questions about what does it mean to disrupt campus operations on campus. And I said during the campaign that at a system-wide, in a system-wide standard, I will not be able to change views on what free speech should look like, but I can ask for clarity as to what does it mean to actually disrupt campus operations, because people have that uncertainty about what that means. And you know, it's the idea that how can we move on from here and accept some truths and create the change that we can possibly bring, which is that clarity. A lot of people are struggling with the idea that merit-based hiring, merit-based practices are coming into place, which is just another way to change the fact that underrepresented communities are losing resources. You know, a lot of people are losing resources in education, in hiring practices, and it's something that it's affecting a lot of people. The DI repeal at UNC has had consequences. Fair admissions versus Harvard and versus UNC is having consequences. The black enrollment at UNC significantly went down, and I personally have my roommate is part of the black community, and I've had to see a lot of that. You know, I've had to see them just becoming progressively more upset about black representation at UNC. You know, you would see people in the pit in this like Black Friday gatherings, and that started to fade out after that case was heard, and the Supreme Court decided that we were going to move on to merit-based practices. So, I think that menstrual equity is another important part. We know that the university is trying to work as much as possible to do what they can. However, you know, we have to advance as much as possible to voice student concerns to the university. And that's what I want to do. You know, I want to build a more supportive student government. And throughout my campaign, I said that I'm an outsider, so I've never been in student government before. It's my first time being in there. But I told people that right now we needed a fresh perspective because often systems, including student government, because it's another system, people can become too internalized within systems and forget about the people they're supposed to serve. And that's the issue I saw with our student government, you know, that you become too internalized about who hosts those positions, which friends are in the administration, who is supporting you within student government, that you forget about the people who are waiting for you to actually voice those concerns with the administration. We hear often, like, what does a student body president do? And in fact, I do have to thank the university because we are one of the most powerful student governments in the country. You know, we have a seat in the Board of Trustees. That's a really rare thing. I talk to people from peer universities who are like, yeah, we're merely performing around here. So we do have the power only if we stand up and actually use it to try and communicate with the administration. So, I have some things that I do want to advocate for. And campus workers and, for example, teaching assistants at the university and graduate workers experience a lot of the problems about practices that do not benefit people. And often, you know, I think that for years, the university is trying to work with the state level to make sure that stipends can increase for graduate students. And it's a concern that we hear a lot, you know, that I personally feel really painful about because they are people who are in my classrooms every day and support my education. You know, when I've had problems, I go to my TAs and they're there for me. They support me, they hear me, they are there because they want me to succeed. So I think that definitely increasing awareness about the importance of doing that. And, you know, facility workers and housekeepers are there for us all the time. And that's also another important thing to acknowledge, that I might be a student body president, but I represent the concerns of students, and we see what campus workers represent for us and what they make possible at the university. So they might not be students, but I'm willing to speak up for the people that students care about, and they are part of that community. So, I think that some other couple things I want to advocate for is underrepresented communities are not always just identity based in terms of their race or ethnicity. For example, STEM students at UNC continue to feel the pain of without classes and programs that often feel like they are meant to not make students succeed. You know, I talk to students and fellow classmates who are in STEM programs, and they tell me like, well, these classes just feel like they're not meant for me to actually succeed, or rather than like me decide to switch to a non-STEM oriented major. So how can we advocate for them and, you know, improve practices that actually reflect the university goals to make sure that all students can thrive regardless of what you want to pursue? Because you can be pre-med, but that shouldn't be an excuse for you to be treated with less respect and for your professors to be extremely much harsher because enrollment is a problem at the university. We know that there's going to be an increase in enrollment at the university. You know, we're going to have 500 more students next year. So what is that going to look like with a university that is already packed and often continues to struggle to support specific majors and programs? That's the clarity that I want to advocate for. And I think the Office of the Chancellor has started on a really right foot with us to have that communication. And I'm willing to stand up for students. You know, I think in this role, there's so much the student body president can do because, you know, the university is full of bureaucratic systems. That's a reality. You know, it's an institution, and institutions are hard to change. But it comes back to who can fill the best role of advocacy, who can fill the seat of representing students in those big rooms. And that's something that I'm willing to do for people. I share with you the values of reconnecting with voices that have been lost. It's a big thing that I'm pushing for. Student government is fairly disconnected from students. That's a sad truth that I've had to accept. Voter turnout is always extremely low, 7% last year. We brought it back up to 13% this year. But it only speaks volumes about what happens when you become isolated from the people you're supposed to serve. So we are launching Operation Connect, which is this major this major plan to reconnect student government with the organizations where people feel like they belong. Because at the end of the day, even if we can't change things, people should feel as if someone's actually representing them in there. You know, you can approach someone and they can go in there with administrators and tell them your concerns, because we've had years where it's like, well, how can I ever reach out to the student body president? And I think that in times like this, it's even more important to feel hope. And that's something I've heard a lot, you know, during the campaign period. People told me, your campaign gives me hope. And it means a lot because, you know, in leadership, often you have to play the I'm not scared, it's not uncertain for me, like things are fine, but things are not fine right now. And so I've had to kind of have to play for the group, and I'm really excited to be working with you guys. I think after last year, you know, after the protests and how people were upset with the handling of that, I had the chance to intern for the University Development Office. So I interned for their pilot summer internship program they had. And I guess I learned the perspective of understanding how important staff and employees are for this university. You know, like I came to understand how important the people who run the university are. You know, often you see people who run the university and you often only look at South Building. But there are a lot of people behind the scenes who are supporting you and are making things possible and are advocating for students on an everyday basis. So even when protections get rolled back at a federal level, even if the state level we see protections being rolled back, I do want to say that I appreciate the work that all of you do. And, you know, I'm bringing a student perspective, but that doesn't mean that I don't see how important employees and staff are to our university. I think that you guys are even working closer with the administration than us. So it's good that you're also bringing that perspective. So yeah, this is kind of like student government. I'm glad. I didn't know this existed actually. So when I was reached out and invited to come, it was great to see that there are still chances for representation. So if I can at any time be helpful to connect to students, if I can at any time be helpful to connect student perspective, I'll be around. I'll be around for the entire year. And yeah, I'm just really excited and hopeful for what we can do next year. But thank you.
I want to open up the floor.
Katie?
Yeah, Key?
Just want to point out that those important people that he's talking about and he loved working with is me.
Yeah.
About me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is key. Okay,
So I do want to open up the floor for questions, but I do want to give a small plug. I've had a chance to work with your predecessor, Julia Taylor, for the past year, and it's been a true honor. And I'm looking forward to you taking office in April. I think one of the key ways I think Julia has been helpful to me in my role is you mentioned your role on the Board of Trustees. Staff and faculty do not share that same privilege of being able to serve on that group. And it is a really powerful position. So we do appreciate the connections with the student body president to make sure that voices of not just students, but faculty and staff are heard in that room. So just preface that by saying, I know there were some questions. So Natasha first and then Annetta.
Hi, Adolfo. Congrats on your election. Again, Natasha Young, Student Life and Leadership. Your advisor is one of my coworkers in student government, so hopefully we'll see each other a lot this year. So I've read through your platform, your 25-ish page platform when you were running. I wanted to know what are your, just give me top two priorities of like actionable things. I know food insecurity is always a point of conversation, but like probably a longer term solution, right? But like thinking about what are things that you are like, I have influence over this and this is something that I want to prioritize my first couple months starting the term.
Yeah, so we did the campaign under like 12 targets. So like 12 main issues to target. And number one was reconnecting with student organizations. Like I said, often systems can become isolated from the people they're supposed to serve. So my number one goal is to reconnect student government with local communities. You know, after the DEI repeal, students want to see that representatives want to connect with cultural organizations, that they want to connect with academic groups even more. So that's a big goal of ours, you know, to open a system where we can have student organizations, representatives sit in rooms like this in a student government scale, but actually being able to open up the doors for people to come and speak. And another thing that I really want to do is sometimes, you know, in student body presidents, in platforms that are related to student wellness and overall students succeed, there are some goals that are achievable. For example, the meal donation sweat program by the Taylor administration is a perfect example of that. We want to implement the Carolina Closet. a big divide on campus is the lack of accessibility for formal attire for students, which is really required in higher education, especially in a school like this, where students often have an interview, they have a networking event, and the reality is that a lot of people cannot afford a suit because it's $300 that they don't have. So we want to see the possibility of doing something like the Carolina Cupboard, but for formal attire, in which student government runs a low price rental system for formal attire for students. That's another priority. But other than that, STEM quality of life is a perfect example. Ainsley's sitting here, she'll be leading our efforts for that. And just working closely with the administration to have more oversight on practices to better support STEM students, because the reality is that student government is often a pre-law space. It's often like a non-STEM related space because STEM students are too busy to care. So we are trying to get more representation in the voices that, it's this idea that like, if I don't serve them, they're not gonna care, but what if we do? And we do represent their concerns that we hear around a lot.
Thanks so much.
Thank you for the presentation and the update. I'm just wowed. And so impressed. If I could have voted for you, I would have voted for you. So my question, I guess, it's kind of a recommendation. And just based on the information that you shared with us, your concerns, and then your interest around recognizing the support that staff bring to the university, I would love to see, I don't recall that this exists, but I would love to see during the president's term a periodic check-in with the employee forum. Maybe not to the extent that you presented or shared today, but whether it's a written summary or whether it's a few minutes to present, that you come and let us know what's going on in the student government realm, and if there are any concerns, related to the connection between students and staff.
Yeah, that would be great. I mean, if I could be invited to meetings to just give a quick update, I'd be more than open to coming here. And I'm sure my professors would excuse that class if it ever clashes. But again, something that I want to go back, and I think it's important to come to these spaces and hear what staff and employees have to say, because I think often with regulations, also staff and employees on an official basis are not restricted, but there can be some situations in which it's difficult to speak up in an official capacity. So I think that another great thing about being student body president is that you're a student and often you're allowed to speak up about concerns in a more open way. So I think it's really important to be informed about what staff and employees do have to say, because you do go into these big rooms and like I said, a lot of students care about the work that you guys do. So I do think that those needs should also be represented in some capacity. And yeah, I'm more than open to coming around and being more active in the forum if I'm given the chance.
Well, know that you have an open standing invitation to come and join us. I will say this past year, this is my 4th year as chair, I was finally able to implement monthly check-ins with myself, the faculty chair, the student body president, and the graduate and professional student government president. So we do get together monthly to kind of share kind of various things that our various organizations are working on. So that connection is now in place, and hope that will continue. But definitely having y'all come out to our meetings, you have a standing invitation to come out and listen to us and share your.
And we are opening for the first time like a bookable system for like open appointments for people to come and speak to student government. So I'll share that. It's kind of the idea of like opening up the doors of student government. The Daily Tar Heel is also for the first time ever going to have an embedded writer with us. And like they're going to be invited to all the open meetings to come in and hear about what student government is actually doing. We're trying to air out more to people so students hear more about the work that we're trying to implement.
Well, congratulations again. Oh, yeah.
Could student government pay attention, please, to the role of employees when it comes to free speech and demonstrations? Mm-hmm. Because the issues we had with the camp out, that placed grounds workers particularly in a very difficult position where they were asked to clear those tents, etc., which I felt was the role of public safety, not grounds employees. Clean up afterwards is a perfectly legitimate task to request of facilities employees. But we found that grounds workers initially were being asked to move those tents and everything. And I want you to pay attention to make sure that grounds workers and facilities workers are used appropriately, because the last thing I want to see is to see employees being made to face off against students exercising their freedom of speech. And you really need to pay attention to how the university was using its facilities employees in that last round of demonstrations. It was something I hadn't ever seen, that where university employees were put in an us and them situation that should have been the remit of our campus police, not facilities workers. So if you could pay attention, should such demonstrations and free speech issues rise again under your tenure, I'd really appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you. Something that I looked back is there was first of all, like I'm all in for free speech, and I do want to support the students being able to execute free speech. I think property destruction is a really complicated topic, and often, for example, there was a protest I remember in September at the ROTC building that something that did upset me in some capacity was that the cleanup after property destruction had to be facilities workers and housekeepers that often are the people that similar groups advocate for. So I did find it to be a very conflicting thing that you advocate for fair rights and then you destruct property that you know people are going to be sent to clean after. Like you're creating a mess and destructing property that the people that those groups have said to be openly advocating for are going to clean up after. So it's something that I also want to bring up to student groups, you know, that at the end of the day, facilities groups are responsible for or are on the other end of what students do. And I do think that during the encampment, I think that there has to be a lot more. For example, back in the encampment in April, there has to be a lot more attention as to what facilities workers are forced to do in that capacity. And in some way, there's also things the administration can work on. And I remember during that protest in the encampment, the university email that was sent out had photos of the debris of the encampment it was painted in a very destructive, in a very like trashy way, I remember, and it's something that upsets students a lot. You know, that the email that was sent by the Chancellor and the Provost included attachments that seemed really unnecessary, but painted the encampment as something that was destructive for the university rather than a peaceful protest that it was. So I do think that there has to be a lot more attention put to how the university approaches that.
The emails that were sent out were deceitful.
Yeah.
Because the camp, I work in that district, that is my zone. My employees are people that mow the grass, cut heads in that zone. And the encampment were very, very responsible. They came to us to ask for trash bags. They liaised informally with the grounds workers. They created no mess, no difficulties. And the email that went out, and I saw emails of the aftermath. The aftermath, and it looked terrible, that was caused by the clearing of the encampment. It was not caused by the students. And that was a deliberately misleading and deceitful communication from the administration.
And I will say, I agree, David, with a lot of the things you're saying. And we did bring that feedback to the Chancellor and to Christi and her team immediately after those protests, that our employees were put in a terrible position and should not have been put in that position. So we did give that feedback to them and to look at if future situations were to arise, making sure that that does not fall on frontline, boots on the ground employees, because that puts them in a really awful position. So we did give that feedback to the Chancellor.
Yeah, we're trying we'll work with the administration on that. And I think that's important to hear the other side of things. You know, this is exactly what, so being student body president, hearing the other perspective is also important, especially when we're trying to connect back to campus communities that are student run, also talking about how student actions can affect campus workers that sometimes it's not thought of, or students might not think about it. But I think that bringing the other perspective and being a liaison between both sides is also really important work that student government can do, and we are hopeful to advocate for. But yeah, thank you so much for bringing that up.
All right.
Any more questions?
Perfect.
Well,
Thank you so much, Adolfo.
Yeah.
Safe travels.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yes. Yeah. Hi, Mom. All right. Folks, we are moving to our next portion of the agenda. We have Honorable Becci Menghini here with us. We're going to come down and do some HR updates. And then I believe we also have some guests from HR to talk about performance management, which is everybody's favorite topic. So, Becci, take it away. And I do have their presentation pulled up here, but if they want to share their screens and share remote, they can do that.
Perfect. Hello, everyone, and welcome, Adolfo. It's delightful to have you on board. I have a relatively short list today, and I admit I came in a little bit late, so I missed some of Christi's updates, and I imagine some of mine are duplicative. So you all just nod or tell me that I'm telling you something a little different than she told you, and we'll figure out how to address that. I am going to be brief because Jessica Pyjas is here to talk a little bit about the upcoming Wellness Expo, and I know Christi also mentioned that. I'll let her provide all the great updates and add to the excitement about that. We also have Jessica and Kathleen coming to talk about performance management, and they will likely, Megan, acknowledge a little bit of how I bungled the answer to you about there is a difference between competency of the position and then the competencies in your individual performance review. Performance reviews do matter, and they do allow for changing competencies to see adjustments along the way, but the two are not the same. And I bungled that answer. I know Link has already reached out to Katie and said we're happy to come and provide a much better explanation of that. Being able to explain it in a short explainer means we almost always mess it up, and you can always count on me to bungle it far more than the people who do it every day. So you'll probably get a little bit out of the performance management discussion later today, but we'll definitely make an effort to come back and do a better job of explaining it if that would be useful. I don't know whether Christi talked about the fact that, well, I know she talked about, and I know everybody's talked about the fact that these are hard times. They're uncertain times, and if you're anything like me, you're doing your best to find joy in the little moments. And I'm going to come back and ask you to share a few of those little moments, because Lord knows those of us in South Building need to hear them as much as you all need to hear them from one another. We're sort of counting on small wins, and I love to hear that Katie say that she's meeting regularly with faculty council and student government, both at the undergraduate and graduate student level. That stuff matters, and the way we create community as a whole campus is going to have to happen in small wins while we deal with this enormous uncertainty facing the whole world, and definitely higher education, and specifically UNC-Chapel Hill. I need a little bit of that joy, so think about that, and I'm going to come back to that at the end. We've got some searches underway. I think maybe Christi mentioned this. We're on the way on the general counsel search. We're about halfway through on-site visits, and we hope to be able to name a candidate for the new general counsel by the end of March. The Vice Chancellor for Communications position has been posted, and I think they're in the Zoom interview phase, and we hope to have candidates on campus shortly thereafter. And we have a new Senior Vice Provost for Student Success posted, and that position is really going to change the way the institution looks at student support, and really having a single view looking at sort of enrollment to graduation, and working with all of the units that fall underneath and helping coordinate that. That position is now posted. We're also working on building out some efforts in the arts. And we're doing our best to keep up with, thank you so much. We're doing our best to keep up with the ongoing requests that are coming in from all of your units. I will tell you, because of the uncertainty and because of the state of the budget, and certainly because of the concerns we have paying attention to what's going on, particularly in the research space, we're paying very close attention to what we're doing to add new people to the university. Any new position that comes to us needs a very strong business case articulated, and we're going to review it very closely. We want to make sure we're doing everything we can to support the people who are here while we figure out what this uncertainty looks like. So there's a fair amount of scrutiny, and some of the requirements have changed, and we have to send a lot more things up to systems. So our timelines are taking a little bit longer. We're aware that makes it difficult for all of you. Unfortunately, that's just the circumstance we're in, and it adds to this, the uncertainty and the angst and all of that. We're all in it with you, I assure you. I think I've talked a lot about the various salary adjustment processes, or the salary adjustments. Right now, we're paying attention to what's happening in the state legislature. If we're being honest, almost all of the money in the state seems to be directed at the western part of the state, rightfully so. The proposed cash receipts for the sales tax receipts for the state are not looking to be as high as they had previously been expected to be in part because of the work in Western Carolina, but also because some of the proposed bills coming forward. I would not anticipate a big legislative increase this year, if any. I know that's not what any of us want to hear, but I also want to be honest about what we're seeing right now. We continue, and I want to be very clear, we continue to advocate to do anything we can to ensure state employees, and particularly those at the university level, have the opportunity to get additional state resources. I'm just not sure whether that'll be successful. It does appear that much of the focus is on repair and renovation and on a handful of capital projects. But we'll continue to watch that. We'll continue to provide updates as we can. You all know we have been waiting to implement new EHRA ranges. We now have approval on those ranges. I would say that that project did not result in adjusted ranges at the same level the SHRA project did. In most cases, the EHR ranges are about the same as what we had before, and I don't anticipate we'll see major moves on that, nor do I anticipate, because we've been doing updates of EHRA salaries along the way in ways that we weren't able to because of the SHRA range limits, I don't anticipate there will be any resources following that or any major changes made. The market data seems to suggest we're pretty well in line. And for what it's worth, I know it doesn't make any of you all feel better, but for what it's worth, we are well above our peers across the system, including those at NC State in most every category at the EHRA range. Let me see what else I have on my list here. Christi gave out a shout out to our athletics teams. I know she talked about basketball and both men's and women's. We've also got a lot of success happening on the baseball team already. Lacrosse is doing quite well. So I encourage you to don your Carolina blue and go out and support those teams, in addition to donning your Carolina blue to come out to the Wellness Expo. And now I'm going to beg you, if you have any local wins or small joys, they don't even have to be work-related, that you want to share. I promise not to take up too much time, but come on, spread a little joy here.
We'll move our
I got
kudos.
Beyonce tickets.
Keith got Beyonce
I got
tickets.
Beyonce tickets.
Do you need a date?
No, I don't. I mean, I only got one, so I don't know.
All right, Keith. I mean, you keep telling me I'm your favorite, and your actions are not demonstrating that.
I didn't know you were a Beyonce fan. We can still work on it now. Don't worry about it.
Okay. I'm going to hold you to that.
I'm looking right now.
Teresa.
Hey, Becky. Teresa Silsby. I'm sharing that I started my 2-year countdown to retirement. And 35 years with the state.
Oh my gosh, that's fantastic. Do you need a date? Can I come with?
So I'm going to give a kudos and a shout out to James Holman, who's in the room.
Yes.
Yes. Retired as of March 1st and is joining us in his role as honorary lifelong delegate of the forum. So I'm so glad you're here, James, and we're going to miss you so much. But congratulations.
Congratulations.
I just want to say I want to miss all of y'all too. I'm sitting here listening to some of this stuff that I want to respond on, but I think I better be quiet for a while. All right.
But now he's saying every day is Saturday. Arlene, you got something.
This is Arlene Metter, and after 56 years, I only have a passport.
I'll look forward to the report on where you're going to use it.
I have an invitation to go to a wedding in Canada in August.
Nice. Excellent. Megan, you've got something?
You know I'm gonna rain on your parade. It's not the good news, but it's I wanted to follow up on the state employee raises. And I know I said earlier that I was pushing for upper management administration to push the state to give us more funding. But also, I don't want to excuse UNC as an institution and its responsibility to their employees as well. But I know that it's hard to find funding and to move around funding, but I just want to reiterate the importance of retention of especially skilled workers. Yeah. Because, I mean, and I don't want to use myself as an example, but my job is the only one I really know well enough to use as an example. But in a day-to-day workload, to replace me, it would take, and I'm not bragging here, but it would take 4 different contractors to replace just my job alone. And if you multiply that beyond like all of facilities and grounds and housekeeping, that would cost the university so much money. And we are hemorrhaging employees because we haven't been able to be competitive with the rates, and the benefits are dropping and all of that. So I just want to make sure that you guys understand this is extremely important.
I totally appreciate that. It's not quite the joy I was hoping for, I'll give you that. But your point is well taken. It really is. And I think it can be a both and. We can both be challenged at the state budget level. The university can have a responsibility to continue to advocate for our employees and continue to find pathways by which we can provide resources so that they are sufficiently paid and kept on campus. We have an obligation to do so. I don't think I am saying anything Christi isn't also committed to. That's my job. And I will continue to advocate to ensure that we keep our world-class staff on campus and are able to pay them as a good, solid, sustainable wage that grows.
Okay, we have Tiffany, then Michael, then Liz.
Okay, so I have 2 things. One of them is a joyful thing. I'll put the other thing first just to tag in on kind of what Megan has brought up, something that I think should be considered. And when you were talking about competencies earlier and work descriptions, it's that other duties as assigned that gets abused.
Yeah. Totally fair.
So it's hard when you say, do your job, and this is what you're told to do, and we're not giving you any more money because that's part of your job. And when you have that other duties as assigned, and they just continue to give you other duties, that's not accounted for. So somewhere in there, just putting that out there. That doesn't happen to me. Shout out Southfield, that's not happening to me. But just wanted to say, as that justification, that when managers are looking at that, and when we are looking at how people are compensated, to consider those other duties that are assigned that fall under that blanket. My good news is my daughter is graduating from North Carolina A&T State University. And she is looking for a marketing job. So, anybody?
We are a marketing function. Yes. Well, congratulations. And your point is really well taken. And it actually is a really good segue to what you're going to talk about in just a few minutes. And that's our performance management cycle. It's really important that you talk to us about this. And Christi and I and others in leadership will continue to talk about how we can continue to engage with managers, about how they work with their employees within the confines of their job description, and how we talk about what's appropriate in other duties as assigned and what's not. But you also have an obligation as employees, as part of your performance management cycle, to chat with your supervisor and talk about where that feels like it's a little tense and where it might feel a little bit strong, or like that you're worried that it's getting outside of the lines, or you're having days like I am where other duties fill up the whole day and you're not sure how to get to the main duties. Have that conversation. That's the point of these. And I encourage you not to save it for performance review, to maintain it as a regular conversation. Somebody, I think, back there mentioned it's a top-down, bottom-up, and sometimes there's an around the path. We have to do it all directions. And I encourage you to have those conversations with your supervisors and with your colleagues and with your employee forum representatives. That's precisely what you're here for.
And I repeat on the record, that is not a current problem that I have. I am just advocating on behalf of other people. Thanks.
I won't tell the provost. No.
Michael, Liz, Megan, Susie, Ellie. Oh my gosh, yeah.
Michael.
I wanted to go ahead and echo some of what was just said. I am the team lead and supervisor for a team of 3 people, the network security team and the information security office. Between the 3 of us, we have 36 years of experience, not just in network security, but on the university network. If you add up our professional lives together, then the 3 of us start getting into the neighborhood of 75 years of experience. It would be very difficult for the university to replace us, and I am continually worried that I will lose the 2 people who report to me because they haven't gotten raises, they have not gotten enough money to keep up. One of them took a pay cut to come here from the private sector in the first place, and he's been waiting years to have the opportunity to just get a raise. I'm not talking about the raise that the state legislature decides to dispense. I'm talking about like being rewarded for the amount of work that he does. Since I'm the person who does their performance reviews, I am also the person who gets to have the conversation with them about, I'm sorry that I don't know how to do something like this for you. So it is really important that we be able to reward people, and it is really important that we be able to demonstrate their value to the university. And I want to emphasize the word value, because for the vast majority of us, the only effective reward is the money in our paycheck.
Yes, I appreciate that. And
in my good news, I've started my 9-year countdown to retirement.
nice. I'm not going to ask if you need a date. That's too far out for me. Your point is really well taken, and I appreciate that. I think you all have talked a little bit about understanding the nature of this place. It's a large, complex research university. Thinking about the impacts of the executive orders related to research alone, if our current overhead rate changes from what it is now to 15%, the implications on the university are enormous. That's just that one executive order. There are several other things happening. The other executive orders, the change in across the federal level, changes that will then result across the state, and priorities that the university has pushed off for years, whether it be R&R or other things. As you all know, there are different pots of money that can pay for different things, but there is a limited pot of money. I don't want to suggest that the university and its leadership do not understand the need to continue to invest in our employees. I think that's absolutely the case, and we talk about it all the time, and I can assure you that Christi can attest that is the thing at every meeting. I say, what are we doing about employee salaries? I'm like that awful little pest in the back of the room. We are paying attention to that, and I know it's not moving as fast as you might like, and to be honest with you, I don't think the outlook ahead is particularly good. I just want to be honest with you. I would love to be proven wrong. Absolutely love to be proven wrong. We're going to continue to move and shuffle and figure out where the dollars go after we have a better sense of what the implications of some of these EOs are. And we'll continue to try to figure out how we can put the most amount of money possible into employees based on the various needs that we manage. That's the best I can offer right now. I encourage you to continue to advocate. We will do the same. And you're right. We can't afford to lose the level of expertise we have. So we have to find means and opportunities to keep people here, and we'll continue on that effort.
And in the meantime, something that would be very powerful as a tool for supervisors would be if HR would produce a very simple, straightforward list of, if you can't give them money, here is what you can.
All right.
Point well taken. We'll work on that.
So we have a line of questions here, and this is all going to be it. So Liz is next, then Susie, then Megan, then Ellie, then Nataya. That's it. We have to move to the next portion after that. So be quick, please.
I have an ask, and I'm going to summarize it because I was going to read it right off of the news article, and now I'm not because I'm going to be nice. Thank you. But I would like for the forum to read the article that I'm going to forward. And Becci, what I'm asking you for, out of the many things that you do, and we know you do advocate for us, sometimes I think the level of advocacy I'm looking for could be called pushback. I actually think it's more like calling for daylight.
Okay.
So this article is North Carolina lawmakers reverse themselves, move ahead with bill to invest state pension plan in cryptocurrency. Now, when we talk about what we can do for our employees and retention, we're not just talking about our paychecks, we're talking about our future retirement. This alarms me. The reason this article alarms me is because it's the antithesis of daylight. It is blowing smoke. The language they use, the obfuscation from leadership, I find to be appalling, but that's me personally and professionally. What I'm asking from people like you in these roles is to call what it is, and say this is not okay. A lot of this article describes backdoor, undue political pressure on even Republicans who are against this. And magically, within one day, they have flipped, all behind closed doors. So again, thank you, Katie, for curtailing the amount of time I'm going to spend on this when the article's right here and I'm going to forward it. I think we need a response. Why? That's the thing. Why don't we know about this? And it is everybody's job, especially leadership, to say, oh, no, 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 no. Come right back out of that room right now. Okay, thanks.
Susie?
Hey, so this is a joy.
Oh, thank goodness. Oh, there we go. Nice.
I've kept my son alive for 9 years, and it was his birthday on March 4th.
Nice, congratulations.
And he is now a blue belt in Taekwondo. Yay!
Awesome.
Awesome.
I love it.
Megan?
I was going to cede that because a lot of people have already covered what I was going to say, but I will add that I think what I'm looking for is for the administration, not just HR, but higher up, to come up with more creative ways, more creative solutions. I know you have these standard pots of money, these policies, everything that you have to follow, but be creative with it.
Ellie and then Natalia.
Just back to your original point, Becci, a glimpse into what the HR policy looks like around reclass would be such an amazing resource. As somebody who has professionally risen through this university, learning as I go and having no real background in professional HR, it is so confusing. And
which is why
I now supervise 6 employees and so I think it would go a long way. It would offer some transparency, which I would really love, and it would let me and help me explain the process to my employees. So please,
totally
let's do
fair.
that.
And I mean, this is my profession, and
Right.
I bungled it. I didn't do a good job explaining it.
But it's so hard.
No, but how can I expect any manager to understand it if I can't explain it to you? That's a problem. Link, because he's so much better at this part than I, has already written to Katie saying, we're going to help figure out a way to explain this in a better way. So we're on that, and
Awesome.
I appreciate that.
It'll be on our next agenda.
And then this will touch on performance management, and as you mentioned about having conversations with your supervisor, and this is sort of an ask of the Chancellor's office and perhaps the deans. There are those of us who are supervised by faculty.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know the process. They don't value the process, perhaps. Some of them do. I've had amazing faculty supervisors. Some of them do not. They really don't know what this is about or how to approach it, and it is often the responsibility of the staff manager being supervised by a faculty to explain it to them. That is not fair. So I ask this frequently whenever I have access to senior leadership, to please somehow let us train faculty on how they need to supervise staff. And we try very hard, but it is a really hard problem to solve, and I don't know how to do it.
It is on our list, and we'll continue to work on it.
Wonderful. Yeah. And my only joy is that I've kept my 3.5-year-old alive for 3.5 years. So I don't know.
Natalia?
Congratulations.
So my question is about supporting each other while we're all stressing right now with the, recent EOs and kind of looking towards the future. Do you have any suggestions for us how we can support each other while we're, concerned about budget cuts, et cetera?
It's a really good question. I think you have to know what works for you. A lot of deep breaths. I make an effort to get out of my office as often as I can to step out and see the faces of the people that bring me joy across campus. And certainly, well, not today, but generally when the weather's nice, it's nice to get out and see the good work of our grounds folks. And sometimes that means having a walking meeting. Sometimes that means sending a note to somebody who you think is doing remarkable work and it's not getting noticed. I think sometimes it can be as simple as saying, I recognize how hard this is and you're doing great, or I understand why this is hard and I'm struggling with you. I think it's okay to talk about the fact that these are really hard times. It's also okay to say they're hard times and we have a lot of good work that we're doing and we should continue to do it for the benefit of our students and our fellow coworkers. those things can both happen at the same time. So my advice is not born of any sort of special experience other than my own, but I think it's a really good question and one you should ask in every space you're in. I'm not the expert on this. I'm giving you what I'm doing, but I encourage you to ask others because all of us have to manage what's going on every single day. And some of it right now is one foot in front of the other. Eat well, eat your veggies, and get a lot of sleep.
That segues us pretty. Audrey, you did have a question. You have your hand raised.
Yes, hi. Not really a question, but more of a statement. I just, for a very long time, probably longer than I've been alive, there was this understanding that people that worked for the state may sacrifice some salary benefits of the private sector for secure employment, good benefits, good retirement. And we are seeing that part of the unspoken contract wither away, and now we're left with sketchy benefits with this new Aetna deal, potentially idiotic investments in crypto for our retirement, and stagnating salaries, which would have been more acceptable if the other two still felt strong. So we're really just shooting ourselves in the foot for the long term, and it just adds an increased level of anxiety for everyone on this call and everyone that works here. Like, Becci, I don't know you personally, but normally you seem quite joyful and confident. And even now on this call, I get the sense that, like, you are under the gun. And, like, that's all I had to say.
I'm sorry it's so evident that I'm feeling it too. I mean, yes, you're right. These are the unwritten contract is changing, and we have a voice in that change. We get to play a role in whether we accept it or not, and we can continue to push back where we can, and I will continue to do that as long as I sit in these shoes. That's my responsibility. It's something I believe in very strongly. I can't do it alone. I need every one of you to continue to advocate for what it means to be an employee at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, and as part of the state of North Carolina. And yeah, we're gonna have to work on getting better benefits, ensuring that our retirement is sustained and that we continue to be an employer of choice. We're gonna have to continue to work on that, and I will do so.
All right, question.
And if you tell us we need to be somewhere at any moment in time to rally, I will be there.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you want to do this? Do we want to move to
I'm gonna
Jessica Pyjas, or
I think we're gonna
do performance management?
I think we're gonna do performance management first. Is that okay, Jessica?
Cool.
All right.
All right. So we've got a couple remote presenters. Jessica, I think, is with us. Do we have one
That's
more?
right. Jessica and Kathleen, I think.
Jessica and Kathleen. Okay.
Well, I apologize. I have to get back to address one of the very topics we just discussed. So I'm going to duck out, but you're in very good hands. And give a shout if you need anything further. And if you've got more things of joy, please spread them my way.
Yes. Thank you, Becci. Thank you, Christi. Thanks, everybody. All right. So I've got my screen shared, and I'm going to turn things over to our online presenters, Jessica and Kathleen.
Thank you very much. I hope everyone can hear me.
Yes.
Perfect. And Katie, I don't make the assumption, but you're going to go through the slides.
Perfect.
Awesome. All right. Well, for those of you that do not know me, my name is Jessica Procel. So yes, we have two Jessicas over at OHR. But I just am here today to talk a little bit about key updates, important dates, available resources to help you navigate this performance management season smoothly. So the slide that you see up on the screen, it's just to remind you that performance management is, it's not just an annual event, it's an ongoing process that helps employees and managers align on expectations, track progress, support growth throughout the year. And again, while the annual appraisal is a formal documentation of your performance, it should reflect a year's worth of conversations, feedback, and goal progress. Now, They are employees and managers who have engaged in regular check-ins, quarterly meetings, and they've documented progress along the way. And this process does become much easier for them. Those ongoing discussions create a clear record of achievements, challenges, and development opportunities, which ensure that the formal appraisal accurately represents the full scope of an employee's contribution. Now, the goal of performance management is not just compliance, but meaningful conversations that drive success, recognition, and continuous improvement. With that said, I will walk you through the annual process and how to make it a valuable experience for everyone involved. Next slide.
Next slide. Okay. Perfect.
Yeah. Awesome. So just before we dive in, who is eligible for the annual appraisal? So all permanent EHRA non-faculty and SHRA employees, that includes full-time, part-time, permanent, and time limited, that have been hired before October 1st, 2024, and they've maintained an active payroll status for at least 6 months during the performance cycle. Again, this includes probationary employees, new hires, and internal transfers from internally, Carolina, and other state agencies and institutions. So if you meet all of these criteria, you are required to participate in the annual appraisal process. So what is new this season? Sorry, my slides are taking longer. Okay. So this season, we are excited to say that we've extended the self-assessment period by 1 week. So this year, we're going to start the season March 10th, and that will give you a total of 20 calendar days to complete this. While this step is optional, we do encourage employees to participate in this valuable opportunity for self-reflection and taking charge of your career and showcasing your accomplishments. Now, the self-assessment will be due on March 31st, so be sure to take advantage of this extra time. Again, this is really your opportunity to highlight your achievements, yes, to your own horn, but also just give yourself that recognition of everything that you've done year-round. Next slide, please. So on March 1st, managers will be assigned 3 important tasks as part of the performance management process. Now, we recommend for managers to prioritize the performance appraisal task, which is due on April 30th. And after the submission, the appraisal goes through an HR review from May 1st to the 20th. And starting on May 21st through June 10th, managers will meet with the employees to discuss their performance and also discuss their goals. Now, in addition to the performance appraisal task, there's also 2 additional tasks. The employee competency assessment, which is required for SHRA employees, and the performance plan. Now, this we recommend it to be a collaborative process where managers and employees set goals for the next cycle, which include your individual goals and the development plan goals. And as we wrap up performance management season, employees will get the opportunity to review all the documents and acknowledge them in the system. And we're also going to drop a link to our performance management website that we've been working on it for 2 years, and it has a lot of updated information. So please utilize that as a resource. Next slide, please. Now, to support employees and managers through this process, we are offering several workshops this season that are designed to make performance management more effective and meaningful. Now, these sessions that we've been include how to complete your self-assessment, manager evaluations, and we are on the process of developing a goal-setting workshop. So employees that did not attend or couldn't attend the STAR Approach to Self-Assessment workshop, we did record the workshop and we'll be sharing this. Either you're going to see a link dropped on the chat or you'll see it in the workwell. So the workwell that's coming out later today will have all of the details that I'm referring to. Now, we're also hosting a manager-focused workshop to help leaders provide meaningful feedback and conduct productive performance discussions. And if you haven't had a chance, we'll also share the link for folks to register. As you can see, those are upcoming March 18th, 20th, 26th, and 28th. And I want to highlight that my team, the Organization and Professional Development team, has open enrollment courses year-round. As an example, we have Communication Essentials, Creating Synergy in Multi-Generational Workforce, Growing Your Careers at Carolina, and so many more. So please check out Carolina Talent, where you'll be able to see everything that we're offering year-round. And again, back to Carolina Talent, the resources don't stop here. We've curated learning playlists for both employees and managers, which offer self-paced training opportunities to further your development performance skills. And I didn't add it on the slide earlier, but we are also offering office hours. It'll be on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We'll post those on the website. We'll post the links directly to Zoom, and we'll continue to provide you all the information. The Performance Hub. Maybe many of folks that are on the call today or present haven't heard of the Performance Hub. Now, we recognize that navigating Carolina Talent, the performance module specifically, can sometimes be challenging. We are fully aware of this, and to make things easier, we built a robust self-service tool with step-by-step instructions, which is going to help you navigate the system. Now, we launched this last year, so for folks that is your first time hearing about it, we have a full menu of everything that you need to know in Carolina Talent, as well as screenshots, really breaking things down step by step when it comes to how to complete tasks, etc. So I will ask Kathleen if she can drop that link in the chat, and for folks to visit, and I hope that it really helps you navigate through Carolina Talent. I know that performance management is, again, such a large program that's supporting all of our employees. So if you have any questions, anything that I can help with, my email is there, performance_management@unc.edu, and I'll look forward to assisting.
All right. Well, thank you. Okay, questions for Jessica or Kathleen? Rebecca?
I just had a quick question. This is Rebecca Howell. Had a quick question about the manager training. I noticed that all of those times fit well with a first shift schedule. Are there times that are being offered to our second and third shift managers?
Unfortunately, at this time, we did not schedule live sessions, but we will be recording those and we'll be posting those to be available.
Thank you. I would encourage considering making live sessions available to that team. That is a team that I think often just gets recordings, doesn't get live interaction. And I really think live training for those teams is incredibly important and does convey a sense of value that I've heard today is missing.
Thank you. We will absolutely consider that.
Other questions for Jessica or Kathleen? And we will save all of the links from the chat and provide those in my usual post-meeting email. So we'll make sure to get all the resources to delegates to share with your constituencies. Okay, well, Jessica, Kathleen, thank you so much for that helpful overview and update. We appreciate it, and we're going to turn now to Jessica Pyjas, who's here to provide wellness updates and a briefing on our Wellness Expo, which is next week.
Thank you. Sorry for being late. I was in Kerr Hall at the auditorium where we met last year. That is not where the meeting was, but not that far away. So happy to be here in person and see you all. We do have something going on. It's a busy time of year. So tomorrow, or not tomorrow, feels like tomorrow. Next week, Wednesday, we'll have our Total Wellbeing Expo. I brought a few posters for you. So when I'm finished here, please just raise your hand so I can give you a poster if I have enough. Our Total Wellbeing Expo is our annual employee wellness event. It is always held that Wednesday of spring break, so you can save it on your calendar for years to come. It's traditionally 11 to 2. That has not changed. We've changed locations throughout the years, but we are going to be at Fetzer Hall. That's what's been working well for us. Parking's going to be free for you in Cobb Deck if you choose to park or need to park. We do have Pepsi joining us this year, so they are going to be bringing their more healthy products and some fun things to do in Gym B. There will be a sampling station of their Celsius energy drinks. So you can try those. They're providing all the beverages for the lunches, which will be waters, the sparkling bubbly waters, and Propel fitness waters. So all healthy choices there. And they'll be bringing a 360 camera for you to enjoy to get some fun pictures on. So I hope you take advantage of that. We'll still have that free pizza and salad bar will be catered by Med Deli, Pizza by Domino's. We do get feedback every year. We hope to continue to collect your feedback throughout the event and afterwards. Pizza fits in our budget. That was something that was on the feedback. We do have a very limited budget, and the only reason we're able to provide any lunch for folks is that we do get a sponsorship for the past 2 years from TIAA. So without their sponsorship, that free lunch would go away, but hopefully it continues and we can continue to feed people. And a little bit of pizza won't hurt you. We'll have a really good wellness resource fair. We have about 80 exhibitors coming. We've brought back the wellness checks so you can get your blood glucose checked, all of your cholesterol levels. You do not have to be fasting, but you certainly can be. There's just different levels readings to see if you're in range. That takes 15 minutes and it's just a finger prick. And there are walk-in appointments still available. Registration for everything closed on Wednesday night, but there check-in, see if there's walk-ins available. One thing that is full, 2 things that are full. The chair massages are full. We also have a wine and design coming in the afternoon. They'll be in the exhibit hall with their coloring sheets, but they're having a painting meditation session in one of our classrooms that is currently full. But like I said, there'll be a check-in person working both of those sections. If someone does not show up, maybe there will be a seat available. So don't hesitate to just ask if a seat becomes available. We'll have pet therapy dogs the whole time of the event. And Ramsey will be there in the afternoon in the lobby. We have 3 cooking demos, so more than usual, and just some really good meditation and fitness sessions as well. So I hope to see you out. I know it's a little chilly today, but next Wednesday's weather looks fantastic. High of 72, I see. No rain. Thank you. I ordered that. It was really hard. We are still in need of some volunteers. So if you have the time, you want a nice t-shirt, we have 7 volunteer shifts still available. I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but sometimes there's no shows too. So if there's a shift online, please take it, and that will be in the notes, but the link was shared before. Any questions about the expo?
We have one online. It says, when does the free parking at Cobb Deck start/end?
7:30 a.m. when we get there. Yeah, 7:30 a.m. I don't know the end time per se. I would assume 5-ish. We have the building from 7:30 to 5 that day.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm
one of the people facilitating the massages, and I take bribes in chocolate.
That she is.
But Jessica, I have a request.
Oh, microphone. Sorry.
Sorry.
I have a request. The healthier Pepsi products, now they're different from sodas, which is great, but I'm going to request that we could have the ingredients posted. The energy drinks have stimulants that are not good for some cardio patients.
Okay.
So it'd be really great to have that disclosure available. I'll offer myself as an example. I'd have to go to the emergency room if I drank too. So let's just make sure that there's, that information available.
I will see what they can do at this point, Elizabeth. As far as signage, we're like getting really close to the end. I don't know if anything can be like produced and printed at this point. We can look it up, and they shared the website with us. We can look it up, but they are samples and it is voluntary. The energy drinks, those energy drinks, Celsius, that's at the sample station. At the lunch barrels where you get your free drinks, there will be many options, which include plain water, the seltzer, bubbly waters, variety of flavors, and then a Propel similar to Gatorade, low-calorie energy drink. So you'll have your option as far as choices. So there are choices.
And we're all adults here. It's just I'm very careful about calling it healthy because for some people it is a disaster.
Okay.
I was just going to piggyback on that. Do you think that maybe a QR code where the drink stations are, where people could check the ingredients, could we print that off and maybe have that up as an option?
Yeah, I could put that together. It'll be something small, just on a regular sheet of paper in a sign stand. But yeah, it can't be. We won't be able to get any big posters printed at this point.
Understood.
But I'll let them know that that's a concern as well, and I'll take care of that. Any other questions about the expo?
I've got a question.
Yeah.
You mentioned something about things you have to register for.
Mm-hmm.
And did you say the registration for those things is closed now?
Yeah, it closed Wednesday night.
This Wednesday of this week? The reason I asked and why it got my attention is, in grounds, we've heard nothing about any of this wellness expo. And what it reminded me of was last year, we heard about the wellness expo on the day it was occurring. So 80 people in grounds have no chance to register or sign up for anything that was there, because I think last year they told us, I think it might be the day before actually. So, if there's things that you need to register for, then everybody needs to know about that well in advance. And grounds knows nothing about this expo.
Okay, I'll work more with Steve next year, because the communications have been emails, newsletters, and I understand that grounds, is not getting those. So, any other questions? Okay. Then there were some comments made about some stressful times that we're under. So I just want to remind you that the EAP services are not going anywhere. There's a lot of different things that they offer. Of course, the traditional service is the counseling. It's 3 free sessions per issue per year. Per employee, does not go through insurance. It's also available to anyone who is 13 years of age or older in your household to get those 3 sessions per issue per year. So please know that, and then also know that hopefully you've created an account on the Aetna portal. They have a good search feature for mental health providers, and if you're looking for a longer relationship at low or no cost, that clear pricing project, if the provider has that symbol and that designation, those appointments are no cost. So do know to try to look for those for that more longer type care. We also will have a lot of information coming out in the newsletter later today, and that will include the virtual meditation sessions. A reminder that those are offered 3 times a week. Our Miles for Wellness walking challenge, which can be a stress reliever to get those steps in, maybe a little bit more stressful to turn them in every week. We have some new webinars coming up this month and in April. New one on walking for mental health. Also a new one April 2nd on building your child's self-esteem. These are webinars, but you can participate on them through your phone. There's just a phone app that you would get. It is not run by Zoom, but you can listen to those while you're out moving. You don't have to be sitting staring at a screen. And then early years we contract with, that is the new name of Child Care Service Association. They are now branded as Early Years. They will be at the expo. They're having a webinar to talk about their referrals and scholarship programs. That will be Thursday, their webinar at 12:30 to 1. And then all of those webinars that are happening the week of the expo, if you missed the registration for those, there will be a button added to the calendar details where you can just click it and join now. So we try to gather how many people are going to register in advance, but there will be a join now button for those registration for those webinars. And Early Years is also holding an in-person session on April 22nd at 6:30 at the Women's Health Education Center. And then if you want to recognize an employee, the Governor's Awards for Excellence nominations are open. That will be posted in the newsletter, and they will remain open through April 15th. Being a larger university, we do get 12 nominations, so please send those. We review those and submit those best meet the requirements. The discounts, lots of people will be at the expo that provide discounts, so be sure to check out the exhibit hall. And then the NC soccer team's Courage and the men's NC soccer team are offering us as employees 50% off of tickets. If you've not been there, they're at the WakeMed Soccer Park in Cary. So that will be in the expo or in the newsletter as well. Any other questions for me? Other questions from Jessica? Let's see. I don't see any online. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Who wants posters? All right, Jessica's going to hand out posters, and we're going to move to our next portion of the agenda. So we don't have a consent agenda this month because the minutes have been delayed. They are quite lengthy, so we wanted to give y'all enough time. So we will bring those forward on the consent agenda in April instead. So that leads us to committee updates. We will go through the forum committees. First up is communication and public relations. Shane is on vacation. Joe is here. Go ahead.
I'm pretty sure an In Touch went out yesterday.
Yeah.
We've got a scavenger hunt that's supposed to be coming up. I'm not sure if that's actually going to happen, but it's short notice and people seem to be pretty busy right now.
Yeah.
Other than that, that's it.
Awesome.
There is no other than that.
Book club, Natalia, or Vanessa? I don't know if Vanessa's on the call, so maybe Natalia. Oh, there we go. Cool.
Yeah, I didn't know if Natalia. We have an in-person meeting with the author of Big Fish coming up, and there was a email the other day, so about the date. Is Natalia on here? I didn't.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Can you just confirm the correct date? Because I know that there was a question about it.
Is it the 27th or the 21st?
It's Thursday, March 27th.
Okay.
And it's at 12 noon in 3005 Michael Hooker Research Center. We are full, but we did open a Zoom link in case people want to attend virtually. I'm really happy that there was a lot of interest this month. Unfortunately, we just ran out of space. So please come virtually if you want to review the book with us. Big Fish. Yeah.
Awesome. I think the blurb that was sent for the In Touch had the 21st, so I'll have to send out a correction for the In Touch. So I'll make sure we get the correct date out there. Awesome. Next up, we've got community service. Teresa or Allie?
I'm not sure if Allie's on the call, but she did give me updates on the March Kindness Drive. We are going to be sending out an Amazon wish list that we're creating for items for Western North Carolina that we get information from Scenic on. And we'll be most likely transitioning to fully online drive, being that we are in the middle of March, so it would make it easier. More to come, and I would be looking out for that next week. Also related to community service, I will be sending out a survey regarding the build opportunity for Habitat for Humanity to kind of gauge interest of people who feel like they would be able to attend a build event. We're targeting the middle to late part of May. So that's where we're standing with that. I completed participating in the review of the Public Service Awards, which was a very interesting opportunity. And we're still waiting to see what the outcome of that is. But those have been, nominations have been reviewed and decisions are being made.
Awesome. Thank you for doing that. Carolina Blood Drive, Laura?
That's me. Hey, y'all. Sorry I can't be there in person. Hopefully you have your calendars saved for Wednesday, April 30th. It will be our 37th annual Carolina Blood Drive held at the Dean Smith Center. We will start taking appointments at 7 a.m. We will be on site until 6 p.m. I highly encourage you to make an appointment so you can get that preferred time slot. I'm pretty sure last month I promised to send the appointment link and I failed. So I'm writing it on my to-do list right now. Send appointment link to forum. Sorry, y'all. I will get that sent out to you all. We do not have the registration open yet for volunteers. That'll come later on this spring. But we would love to see you then.
Awesome. Thanks, Laura. Next up, Community Garden. Arlene?
There is a community garden advisory committee meeting on Tuesday at 8 a.m. If you're interested in attending, please email Claire Lorch.
Awesome. Next up, we've got Diversity, Equity, Inclusion. Sarah or Charlie? I think Sarah's on vacation. Is Charlie on the call?
Yes, I'm here. We don't have anything to report at the moment.
All right. Sounds good. Oh, Megan, go ahead. It's being worked on. Yeah. Leadership, Education, and Career Development. Ali or Siobhan?
We will be opening Carolina Family Scholarship applications hopefully in about a month, a little bit over a month. So I need to get a committee meeting scheduled to discuss those questions. And then the call should be out in mid-April. For those who don't know, that is a scholarship that is for dependents of UNC-Chapel Hill employees who are currently attending, or will matriculate in the following year to any of the UNC system schools or community colleges. So if you know somebody who has a child or dependent who will attend one of those schools, please encourage them to apply.
All right. Membership and engagement, Tiffany or Keith?
I can say I'm happy to see so many people here today. Thanks for showing up, guys. No, we've been working behind the scenes, getting ready for elections, nominations. Email went out. Everybody should have gotten that. Folks who need to self-nominate or get someone to nominate you whose term is up, I believe I sent out an email to that group, so just be cognizant of that. If you're not sure when your term is up, check the forum website, or you can verify with Matt or myself or Keith on that. Currently, that's all I have. Keith, do you want to add?
No, sorry. I don't have anything to add. Just if you know people, get them involved, and that's it.
There was some question as to who's eligible to serve because nominations are open through Sunday, March 9th. You do have to be a permanent, full-time SHRA or EHRA non-faculty or EPS employee that has fulfilled their probationary period. So that's one piece I think that has confused some folks. So yeah, just one piece of information there. So yeah, we will be processing delegate nominations and working towards elections. Ballots should go out in early April. So we've got some things behind the scenes that we have to do to kind of gather nominee information, biographies, getting supervisor approvals, all that fun stuff. And then ballots will go out in early April for the election. So more to come on all of that.
Oh, and one quick shout out to Keith. Thank you so much for all that you're doing to increase engagement.
Yes.
And so, again, thanks to everybody who also showed up to the women's basketball game. I heard that was a hit. Sorry I could not be there, but so happy that we are starting to be in community with each other and that everyone is starting to be more engaged with the forum. So kudos to Keith and to everyone who's been engaged. And I just want to ask you guys to continue that.
Yes. Kudos to Tiffany as well, because she's been a big part of that. So, all right, personnel issues. Sharon or Greg? Oh, sorry, Megan, you had a question?
Sorry, regarding the upcoming elections,
Yes.
could I get anybody on the staff assembly to share like any details about like time commitment or whatever?
We'll get to the staff assembly in a second, and we'll move to that. That's a great question. Sharon or Greg, personnel issues updates?
Yeah, we met last week. Yeah, way back in the back.
Yeah, you're back there.
We met last week. Typical discussion, but there's one thing I wanted to call out because it was the first time we had this level of discussion. And that is, we talk about a lot of vacancies and trying to fill our vacancies. A new added twist is the vacancies in some areas are being filled. It appears that the percentages are looking much better. However, they're not being filled by competent people and no-shows. It's difficult to terminate, and including if an hourly employee and they're not showing up for work for weeks on end, and it takes months to get them off payroll. It makes it look like, or to open back up, not off payroll, to open back up the position so it can be filled with someone that wants to work. That causes a lot of downstream issues. But that was a new issue, and I wanted to make sure that, to voice that across the board. That's something we definitely need to look into more and see what we can do. We are going to have a second meeting this month, and the focus there is going to be a salary deep dive. And so be looking for that to be added on calendars soon.
And I think we talked to Greg and you a little bit about, there was a proposed resolution brought forward by the DEI committee that needs some more kind of workshopping. And I think we are going to bring that, because the next DEI meeting wasn't until April. So we're going to bring that to the second personnel issues committee for workshopping and discussion. So hopefully we can get that on the April agenda. Actually, it's not a resolution, it's a proclamation, I think. Did I say proclamation? I don't know. Whatever I said, it's a proclamation. So yeah, more to come on that. So thank you. Recognition and awards, Shayla or Charlie?
We don't have anything. I think we have a meeting next week.
Yeah.
But other than that, we don't have anything at the moment.
Awesome. We are nearing peer recognition awards season, but more to come on that, likely in April and May. Yeah.
Should that meeting fall on the same day as the Wellness Expo?
It does.
So did we take that into account, or just leave it as is?
Charlie, there might be some appetite to maybe potentially change the recognition awards meeting since it conflicts with the Wellness Expo.
Yes, I'll work on changing that.
Okay, thank you. I think when we scheduled it, it didn't conflict. So yeah.
Yeah, or at least till the afternoon.
Yeah.
Once it's over.
Awesome. Great point. Rules, Jacob, is he on the call? don't think Jacob is on the call. Okay. Next up is the staff assembly. Shayna had to duck out. So Keith, any updates? I know the executive committee was just held recently, so hopefully there's some updates from staff assembly to share out.
We meet, the full body meets in April. We are beginning the committee work on tuition waivers and what we're going to ask for that. Basically, that's really all that we have going on. Talked a little bit about the golf tournament, which is going to be in the western part of the state in September. And really, that's all we have right now.
And Megan,
I would just add for the,
go ahead.
Sorry.
Go
I'll
ahead.
just add for the golf tournament. The date is September 29th, and we met with Waynesville Inn and Country Club, I think they're officially called, and we are getting a block of rooms for volunteers and things of that will have a discounted rate. So once that is finalized, I can send that out. And if anybody is interested, we do have the sponsorship packets and everything available. If anybody would like to view them and just see them, definitely let me know.
And for newer folks on the forum, the golf tournament, we do usually have a UNC-Chapel Hill hole that we sponsor, and volunteers will go out and help kind of greet the golfers and man the hole and kind of talk to the Chancellor's teams and stuff like that. So it's a really fun time. If you're on the Chancellor's Cup Golf Tournament Committee on the staff assembly, your travel is covered, but otherwise the volunteer travel is on your own dime, unfortunately. But so it's something to consider since it's so far away this time around. But I think it's a nice thing this time around that we're doing something in the western part of our state to support the tourism industry out there after the devastation from the hurricane in the fall. So I think worth a little bit of inconvenience for us to get clear out there this time around. So that's always a really fun time in September. Megan, I want to get to your question about kind of staff assembly delegate service and what that looks like. So I can give a little bit of preview on that and kind of the timeline of what that's going to look like. So officer elections are coming up in June for the employee forum, and that's the time at which we select our staff assembly delegates for the coming year. So we have 3 staff assembly delegates that serve for UNC-Chapel Hill. One of those is automatically the chair, who will be Rebecca. The other 2 will be up for grabs this time around because James retired and I'm rolling off. And then plus an alternate this time around. So there will technically be 3 positions up for election in the coming June officer elections. So that timeline will be kind of a May period of like nominations for those roles. June meeting is when folks will kind of give their candidate statements, and then we'll do the election. And then you'll start service on staff assembly if you're elected at the July staff assembly meeting. So it's 3 in-person meetings a year. So it's July, October, and like March, April-ish. Those transition to different parts of the state, so it depends on who's hosting that particular one. The next one in April is at ECU. Travel for those 3 UNC-Chapel Hill delegates is covered by the system office, so that's one nice perk. And then we also have several folks at UNC-Chapel Hill that serve on the executive committee of staff assembly, which is separate from our 3 delegates, if that makes sense. So Keith, Shayna, Lisa are on executive committee and get to travel as well. So we have like 6 people right now that are kind of serving in that capacity. So UNC-Chapel Hill is very well represented and gets to kind of advocate to President Hans, the Board of Governors. Shayna, who is the chair of the staff assembly right now, obviously is our former chair of the employee forum. So she meets regularly at Board of Governors. She was just there this week and meets with President Hans quite frequently to advocate for system level change. So one of the things Keith mentioned, we're working on a resolution for the staff assembly around the tuition waiver benefit and trying to expand the utility of it, because right now it's a little bit pointless for a lot of folks. So trying to make sure that that is actually usable and a tangible, nice benefit for the universities across the system. So that's one thing we're doing. But lots of system level advocacy happening through staff assembly, which is a great leadership opportunity for us to share our voices for system level things that a lot of times we struggle with here at UNC-Chapel Hill, trying to advocate for changes with the UNC system. So yeah, great questions for all. So more to come on that. Again, be thinking about it. There's going to be 3 positions open. So May timeframe is when we'll kind of start expressing interest, and then elections will happen in June. So awesome. Okay, I'm not going to read through the list of committee representatives, but if university committee representatives on the forum want to give an update about your group, now's your time. James?
We met February 11th to vote on 3 pieces of art to go at different locations on campus. The first is by Andy Daniel. This will go down behind Ehringhaus Residence Hall on your way to Boshamer Stadium and Shelton Stadium. The second piece is going to go by the Owl Building. It may be obstructed. This is by Billy Lee. It may be obstructed by some of the construction going on, but it'll be erected, I think, sometime this summer. The third piece is by Ben Leon, and that is going over by Bell Hall, the new building on campus. We have a meeting next week with some agenda items as well.
Great. Buildings and grounds update complete. Any other university committee representatives for the forum want to give an update for your groups? Rebecca?
I can just share that the Committee on the Status of Women is meeting later this month, but I don't have an update beyond the next meeting.
Great.
Parking Appeals met Wednesday. And so with the new parking director, Mr. Dobek, I think is how you say his last name. And so trying to make some progress there, get the ball rolling, figure out who is going to be chairing that committee, the involvement of the forum, and also getting faculty and students more involved with that as it was when it was previously chartered. So yeah, updates to come about that, but I feel good about the progress that we made in our meeting.
Great. University Day and Commencement Committee has not met yet, but I envision that we'll be starting to meet soon in preparation for commencement. And I know there's been some questions from folks that manage parking for commencement on our end to trying to get some more information because they've been pretty mum on details for that. So I will see if I can get an update of when we're going to start meeting. Anybody else before we move to the next portion of things? Bye, Liz.
I gotta go.
All right. New business. I wanted to bring forward a proclamation that we passed via the executive committee. There was a time-sensitive nature to it because of James Holman's retirement on March 1st. So we wanted to get it passed at executive committee so I could read it at his retirement luncheon, which happened on the 28th, so last Friday. So I wanted to kind of just present that proclamation here to this group as the full body of the forum, read through it. And I think in the past, what we've done is sometimes we'll ratify things that have been passed by the executive committee if it's something that this body wants to sign off and have its name added as signatories to the proclamation or resolution. So with that said, I'm going to read through this proclamation and then we'll open up the floor for discussion. So Proclamation 25-01, honoring Employee Forum Delegate James Holman upon his retirement. Proclamation of the Employee Forum Executive Committee, the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, February 25th, 2025. Whereas James Holman, a crew leader in housekeeping services and a long-standing Employee Forum delegate, will retire from the university on March 1st, 2025. And whereas Holman has served a vital role in identifying and resolving day-to-day and long-standing concerns within the housekeeping department and the university during his tenure as Forum delegate. And whereas Holman's contributions have been duly noted and recognized in Forum Resolution 19-05, the link is here. Side note, I'm not reading text right now. That is the proclamation where he was named honorary lifelong delegate, if you want to read through it. Continuing the proclamation, whereas his service has been previously recognized by a host of awards, including but not limited to the C. Knox Massey Distinguished Service Award, the Rebecca Clark Staff Award for Moral Courage, the Employee Forum Lifetime Delegate Designation, the President's Award from the State Employees Association of North Carolina, and the WCHL Hometown Hero Award. And whereas upon being awarded the stipend accompanying the CNOX Massey Distinguished Service Award, he chose to use a large portion of that funding to pay for 3 massive catered meals, one for each of the 3 shifts of his housekeeping colleagues. And whereas Holman has also contributed greatly to the well-being of state employees across the state of North Carolina through his work with CNIC, namely, he championed for a committee to focus on the issues of higher education employees, resulting in the creation of the CNIC Public Education Committee. And he encouraged CNIC to be a naming sponsor of the UNC System Staff Assembly's Chancellor's Cup Golf Tournament, which contributes to the Janet B. Royster Memorial Scholarship benefiting UNC System staff professional development. And he served as chair of CNIC District 25 for more than 10 years, advocating for employees of UNC-Chapel Hill outside of the university, elevating our obstacles, setbacks, and accomplishments to state and local politicians. And whereas he has consistently nominated his colleagues for service positions on the Employee Forum and the UNC System Staff Assembly, thus putting into action the words of John Quincy Adams, "If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader." Therefore, be it proclaimed that the Employee Forum once again honors Holman's groundbreaking contributions of service to the university, the forum, and his fellow employees upon his retirement from this institution, and congratulate him on this milestone in his career. Be it further proclaimed that the Employee Forum appreciates Holman's steadfast leadership, representation of his colleagues, and tireless advocacy for UNC staff. Signed, Katie Musgrove, Chair. So I'm gonna, I hear a motion is on the floor. Go ahead, Tiffany.
Make a motion to ratify this proclamation.
So I have a motion on the floor to ratify the proclamation. Do I have a second? Annetta Streeter has seconded. I'm going to open up discussion. Any discussion of the motion that's on the floor?
Thank you. Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you, James.
James was here. I don't know where he's at right now, but he must have had to leave. Yes, a big thank you and a shout out to James. All right, I'm going to call the question. All in favor of ratifying the proclamation passed on February 25th, 2025 via the full body of the forum, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, well, we have passed this from the full body, so we will amend that language and repost it on the website as being a full body proclamation. So again, a huge shout out and kudos to James, who has exemplified a lot of the things we look for in a delegate, of making sure that he brings updates from the forum to his colleagues, but also brings his colleagues' concerns to us. So we really appreciate James's service and congratulate him as he retires. Well-deserved honor. All right. Anything else? Let's see. Okay. Announcements and questions portion of the agenda. Vice Chancellor's representatives meeting is coming up next Thursday. One last call for questions. If you all want to bring questions to the VC meeting next week, please email them to me by this afternoon. I'll add them to the agenda and we'll get that agenda sent out to the VCs. Megan, anybody else, if you want to add things, please shoot me an email. Sorry, what? All the vice chancellors. Yeah, all of them usually come. It depends on their availability, but Nate, Becci, Wendy, Mike Andresen, like all of them. Yeah. So we invite all of them and send them the questions. So awesome. Okay, and then Staff Advisory Committee to the Chancellor has a meeting coming up in April. So that date is April 2nd. And we already kind of did It Takes a Village. Highlights and kudos is how I like to end our meetings. We kind of did that earlier with Becci. But if anybody else has anything that they want to bring to the floor before we adjourn, I open up for anybody. Stephanie Morales, go ahead.
Hi, hopefully you guys can hear me all right.
Yes.
I wanted to give a major kudos to Shayna, and as always, Shayna's amazing. And Kelly here, who have both been instrumental in running our department while we had someone leave in December. So major kudos to them and thank you on behalf of the department.
Awesome. Teresa?
I'd just like to give a shout out to my team, the Business System Help Desk. They are the best. They support Connect Carolina administrative users, HR, payroll, and finance. And I know there are several people on this campus that they look forward to their help and make their days. So I just want to appreciate my team.
Kudos. James?
I want to give a kudos to the man to my right, Mr. David Barnett. He is a housekeeper on third shift, and he has stepped up in the vacated role of James Holman as being a crew leader without getting paid. So I think he deserves
We need to
kudos.
rectify that. Kudos. Yes, Sharon.
I'd like to give kudos to Michael Williams and his team. We've had some challenging issues this week with Connect Carolina, and thank you, Michael. You guys are awesome, and your diligence and expertise is greatly appreciated.
Kudos. David?
Is there any way we can get parking passes for the third shift to come to these meetings?
We can try. Shoot me an email or text me or something. Yeah. There's very limited visitor parking here at Pharmacy, but we'll see what we can do.
Campus close by.
Yeah.
I had to park over to the football center.
Yeah. Parking is tough over here on this side. I used to work in this building at Beard, and the medical side of campus has very little parking, even for its own employees. Like, I know I had to park over at Nash when I worked here. So we'll try. I can't promise anything because parking is the worst. We love them. Sorry, we love parking. They are valuable team members. Anybody else? Anybody online? Okay. Oh, Arlene, yeah.
I don't know who they are. I don't know what department this is, but whatever department already submitted their order for their graduation programs.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, see, Prince Stop is already getting graduation things. Yay. Awesome. Okay, folks, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We'll do this by acclamation. Anybody opposed to adjourning? No. Excellent. Thanks, everybody. Yay. Oh, go grab food if you're here. Like, take leftovers, please. Pretty please.
For being at this meeting, and I enjoyed it. Y'all have a great weekend.
Thanks, Samara. Thanks. Thanks, Annette.
Is it like bag y'all if you want to take any of the patients that make it back?
Like, I mean,
I mean, they have to park in Moorhead or Mason, so it's like not convenient. So if that's the issue, I can't, but like.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, I think we could easily justify spending money out of the farm account to cover and all of it.
I didn't know if you guys actually have an account.
We don't. I just like, I don't know. I mean, unless we could get more in here and this one, that's like so tight, like this one.
We can reserve service for like $20.
Right. There's those two, but that's at a gated level, so you have to be able to swipe it. There's two right out here.
They could do service and FedEx.
But you have to be able to swipe it.
There's a lot behind that. There's an open that's a service permit spot.
Like back here.
Yes. But then also, the other thing to think about is Venable, where I park.
Right.
Is at 11. Because you can reserve spots there, and it's really.
That's not far. Yeah, that's not far.
So.
We could look at doing that, yeah.
I just have to. Which is.
It's a pain in the butt. The argument before
No, I know.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because it's oh, goodness. All right.
Let me know if you need help with it. I'm happy to.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Okay. Thank you. You say you're in the social?
I'm in social work.
That's,
Right there. Take Turner Carral.
Yeah, Turner, you know his record, right? He was,
Dean Turner. He was a
yeah.
airman, yes.
Yeah.
I think he was the dean when I started. That's I've been here for about almost 42 years.
And we belong to the same church.
Dr. Turner.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, he was the best dean we ever had.
Oh, yeah, Dr. Turner.
He was an awesome man. We wouldn't have that building.
All right.
He was the one that started all of this. Because, we was on Franklin Street.
So is it
that was all because of him.
All right.
Yeah.
You got the history.
Yeah, I do.
And I'm David Barnett.
David Barnett. All right, but yeah, just email me, and if I can figure out a way to get you something.
I work, matter of fact, I work in Coker, Mitchell,
But you're with the
Wilson,
night.
and during the nighttime. And I was trying to catch up with Sharon. She works the day shift for us, handing out like what you do.
Okay.
And she wasn't there.
Oh,
and so
okay.
I had to figure something else out.
Yeah, just email me and let me know because we have a few visitors to the spot. We have 2 visitor spots. Then we have like the green 2-hour spots. But normally if you got the green tag in the car, if you're there 2.5 hours, they don't come down our spot that often.
All right.
But just let me know, and if I can get you one, I will.
And you say you've been how long?
I've been 42 in April. And so, 42 years.
Are you a part of the city?
Yep, I have been there since I've been here.
What's on? What district? 25?
What's his name was moving me to,
What, James?
I think whichever, yes, he was moving me. He had me to fill out another form last year doing the employee appreciation. He had me to fill out a form to move me because whichever one I joined years ago.
You don't know which one that was?
What do I want to say? 25?
No, 25 is us.
Okay, maybe
Now,
I was not in 25.
It was 19 and 25 was, I think they kind of like split off somewhere back there.
Yeah, he had me to redo the form so I could get moved.
I'll mention it to James.
But yes, and then email me if there's something else I need to do.
Okay.
But yeah, I've been in it ever since I've been here.
All right, my sister.
All right, have a blessed day.
Well, that's kind of what we're
I'm still on one of these little round stickers so I can scan my card to use
All right, man. Scavenger hunt coming up.
Working on it.
All right.
I've been pretty busy all week, so I haven't been able to get into anything, so.
But yeah, it's coming.
I don't know how we're gonna pull this off. Yeah, because we still have to get closures and. Do you know when Shane is back? He mentioned that.
No, next Friday.
Next Friday. So.
So he's not even here, so I could send out like the social that I need to be ready.
That may be something.
Like right smack in the middle of
I'll be at the wellness expo.
But it doesn't have the separate
I mean, I'll be at the forum table. I don't know. I'll when I go home, I'll see if there's.
Look at the, I take care of deposit prior to trying to
You are. Yeah, I was just thinking like the prizes can't be all hats. Well, they got a big help. I know it needs to be done. All it takes is like 2 people that post it on social media, and then other people are like, "Oh, that's the same thing I got." All right. Yeah, I'll see if I'll I'll see if there's a time everybody can get together on Tuesday. I don't even know what my schedule is on Tuesday, but I feel like I already have something on Tuesday that's gonna take up some of my time.
Oh, was it there when you played?
I will send something out real quick when I get home. You too. See you.
I wonder if they're winning right now.
Are they playing now?
They're playing right now. Women's team is in the ACC tournament.
Okay, well, good luck.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't recall seeing a badge. Do you know whose cup that is, Katie?
Who was sitting there?
Was anybody sitting down that far? I can't remember. I don't remember because unless Rebecca, I know Rebecca was sitting over there.
No, Rebecca's back there.
No, sorry, not Rebecca.
Liz.
Elizabeth was right here, right beside. Because she was beside me.
I don't know whose it is.
And
I don't know.
recall being there when we got here. Shayna was on the next row, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
Shayna was on the next row. Yeah, maybe it was there. Maybe it's still left from a class, maybe. Whoever it is, they come back. Yeah, they will, or they don't want it. Those are the two options. All right, Miss T, if I see you.
About what?
Wish me luck this weekend with the lunch.
No. No. So she's not going to be wait, no, she didn't win anyways. Okay. Yeah. Aw, that sucks. Yeah.
Yes. Donating decor. Well, not donating, but sponsoring. So I'm completely for free. Yes. Oh my gosh. It's gonna get wrote off on my taxes.
You're too nice.
Yeah, it's gonna get written off on my taxes.
You are too nice.
Hey, what are you smart?
What we got going on food-wise? We still got food back there?
Some, not a lot. There might be some bagels and some stuff like that. You want me to get you some?
I got it. I just was curious if they had
Can you email Liz?
cleaned us out.
See if she left a note?
Sure.
'Cause I don't have my laptop anymore. Let's see. I need some ease on when we get back to the store.
Let me not email her. Let me call her. That seems easier. I love how he was saying that our institutional memory is gone. Like, I've been here for 10 fucking years. Like, you've been here longer than that. Like, he's full of shit. We have plenty of institutional memory. Just because you're not on the forum anymore, if you want to be on the forum, quit bitching and whining and come join us.
Yeah, I kind of got that feeling too.
Oh, I knew as soon as he walked in what was going to happen. Because he's a known entity. He is a known entity.
I figured. I saw your face.
Yeah. Did I do okay not having like a go fuck off
I know
face?
you well enough to know. No, it was a very neutral face.
Okay.
But that's one of those, I know where Katie's brain is right now.
The go fuck off. Yeah. Pardon my language. I'm sorry, there's children in the room.
They probably heard that in the car.
Yeah.
See, they didn't even notice.
Yeah.
Or blessing sometimes.
Alright, I got some for this for you later.
My number on my fingernail.
My office. Thank you for talking to the counselor and everything wants.
All right, let's see here. Close this.
Yeah, Jordan overheard kids in the lunch line threatening to shoot at the school today.
Oh, lovely.
So they made an anonymous report that is now not anonymous to the counselor, but still anonymous to everybody else.
That's good.
The fact that they've not like put things on lockdown to investigate that is problematic.
Well, they have the police there.
Oh, okay. Well,
working on it, so. Good times.
Good times, good times. Not really,
That's
but
why I made it a decent time, because I didn't have to go back to school. I got plugged right there. Ready? What can I help with? I think they've got everything cleaned up in there.
yeah, I think. I'm just cleaning up things and then taking back these, whatchamacallits that I stole. Door stops. I'll return them because I know where I stole them from.